Howdy, guys. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening to you, wherever you are across this beautiful world. I'm your co host, Squeamish Cactus. And Bunny Fufu is somewhere around there. I think she should be. Yes, there she is. Good afternoon to you.
Good afternoon to you as well.
And we got some interesting topics today. We got some Battlefield 2042 coming along.
Yes.
Now, have you seen any of the trailers, so called sneaky trailers and things of it? I haven't seen too much of it. Of course, they're keeping it under the wraps. But what is
I
your
have
thoughts so far?
I haven't seen too much on it either, only, when we all got together for the launch of the trailer on your channel, which was kind of a letdown.
it
Not gonna lie.
it
Everyone got up
was.
super early,
Yeah,
jumped on, and then they gave us an hour countdown to the actual release of the trailer.
which is now see there's the thing for those who are what she's referring to, ladies and gentlemen, is I made it an effort. I got up fairly early to do this thing where they said, okay, we are going to announce this the global release of the video, right, of 2042 Battlefield. So I thought, okay, this would be really cool to have. I will do this for my community. I will show them this live. This will be really good, not only for myself, but also for the community and as well. So I thought that would be really cool, and it ticked down. Like, we're all excited, we're watching Battlefield, Battlefield 1, some of the videos I've had personally of clips and stuff. So I thought this would be really exciting and cool to show all this as a tease to build up. And all of a sudden they just show this weird like matrix thing, and it's like blurred and you hear voices, and then it says another hour, and was like, wow, 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 wow. I was like, what the hell is this?
We were all like, I'm sorry, wait, what?
All right, so yeah, it was a letdown, and they didn't show anything but just a like 15-minute video. See, that's what things about games today is, like they show you this movie epic clip of something, but then it doesn't show anything of the game itself. Doesn't even show you a pixel of the game. But let me explain this for those fufu who don't know. The next Battlefield game is, of course, Battlefield 2042. It's a large-scale first-person shooter series. I guess it's supposed to be in the near future, hence 2042. About there's gonna be 128 different, I guess, different people will be able to play. It's 128 people in the lobby. They're tweaking some of the Battlefield formats, and it's going to be kind of interesting because you figured it's been what, like 2002 or somewhere in that time frame when Battlefield first came out. I played a few of the Battlefields, but Battlefield 1 and now Battlefield 5 I own. I was gifted Battlefield 5, so I've played that before. Have you played Battlefield 5?
I have played Battlefield 3, and
Okay.
I have played a little bit of Battlefield 5.
Okay.
So I know what it is,
Hmm.
but I'm not super good at it. I'm not like on top of everything when it comes to hiding and shooting and running. It's for
Right.
me, it's a little bit of a learn.
Now, usually they have Conquest and Breakthrough. They have those kind of things on there too. But I guess there's also a couple mystery modes too. Dice hasn't explained what they are yet. And they're not supposed to be a kind of like battle royale mode, so that's gonna be interesting. I like the Battlefield was always that game where it was kind of like the next step up for me for COD, Call of Duty games,
Yeah.
because it's a bigger field. You get a wide spectrum of guns and stuff. Yeah, you unlock and rank up game guns and stuff like that in the COD series, but Battlefield always seemed like it had a bigger spectrum of guns that you can get, but you had to earn them. You had to do so many of this, so many of that, and stuff. Is supposed to release on October 22nd, 2021. So we're just a few months away from the quote unquote initial release of this. It'll be on the Origin and Steam and Epic Game stores. So that will be for the PCs. And then it looks like it might have. Mm-hmm. I'm sorry, I stepped on you.
Oh no, you're good. I'm still having issues with my headset.
Okay.
It's also supposed to release on Xbox X and S,
Mm-hmm.
PS5, and it's going to be PC console crossplay, and that is in the works, as well as the cross progression.
So see that now that's a good step. I don't think the current battlefields are cross-platformed. I could be wrong, but if they do that direction, that's going to be kind of a plus and minus. Well, like it's Sea of Thieves, right? You have cross-play of those, and the people on PC have the higher advantage. But we talked about that before on FPS and all that stuff on a prior show. But yeah, that's going to be exciting. If my friends on Xbox or whatever can play with me, that's good. If I played on if I decide to get it, I'm still on the edge, but we'll see. We'll see what happens.
Exactly. If we decide to get it, it'd be nice to have all the group, the Xbox players, the PC
We'll
players
just make it a big
are
party.
exactly. We and with how many people can fit in a lobby,
Yeah,
think about how many of your friends can join you.
see that'd be the fun thing too. Yeah, it doesn't say what they have as far as like how many people are going to be able to like your friends. Is it going to be like Fortnite where there's only like 4 people, 3 people? I know that.
Or is it going to be however many people that you want
Right,
on your team?
right. So that'd be
And
kind
then
of
it'll
interesting.
fill the rest in with other online players looking to play.
No, see, I like that. I like that. That'd be kind of interesting. 128 player matches or crossplay with the PC or new consoles. They did have their release at E3 for those who didn't watch it. Well, we talked about that, but we're not going to go there again on it. The Instead of 64, because I think Battlefield 1 right now and maybe Battlefield 5 have maximum of 32, 32. So it's 64 altogether, 32 squared. So it's 32 on one opposing team to the other. So it's doubled that. Now they have 64 on each side of the thing. So what do you think? What is your thoughts about, is it going to be lag city because there's double the amount increase of players moving and all that stuff, do you think?
I mean, there's always that possibility with any game, especially a big game. And the way it's looking, Battlefield 2042 is going to be huge.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And I know me personally, if I was to get it, I probably wouldn't get it on the drop date
Okay.
because everyone is going to want it on the drop date. Therefore, the server is going to be full
Oh yeah.
right out the gate. So I'm expecting to run into those kind of problems. If I was to get it, I would wait maybe a month or two,
Right.
let it have that hype and either continue that hype or bring it down, but they'll still be able to, if need be, update it
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
before I jump into it. So that way, if I jump into it with my PC, I don't have to worry about super lag if that happens.
Right. Yeah, see, and that's the thing too. A lot of people don't realize when the D-Day drops, it's kind of like doomsday in a sense too, because there's a shit ton of people who are going to be doing the same thing. They're all going to it's squeaky brand new. They want to be the first person or persons to be playing the game, to experience it firsthand, which I get. There's big hype about it. But then on the back side of the coin, there are the content creators such as myself, such as yourself, who want to, show their community this brand new game and be one of the first to give content to it. But it is always that yin and yang. It's always a plus and a minus. As you mentioned completely, there's going to be server lag up the bazoo. There's going to be a ton of people on. It's going to be like rush hour traffic on a Friday evening. It's just going to be a no bueno.
Yes, you have to when you even with any game,
Uh-huh.
but a game to this stature, you have to stop and think about, the pros and the cons. The pros, it's brand new. It's a new Battlefield game.
Right.
It's a futuristic Battlefield game. The cons, everyone's going to want to play immediately.
Right.
So you have to weigh, am I going to jump on it immediately and deal with the bugs and the lag and this and that, or am I going to take a step back and let it get those updates and get through some of the crucial first steps of the game's development.
Oh yeah, absolutely. You know, out of the gates, is as best as any game developer or any dev will try their damnedest, is to make a game that is completely lag or completely bug free. However, as you and I have learned many of times on games that are, when they first drop, there's going to be some issues, and of course, there's going to be those people who find those exploits, and there's those people who are going to do it. Did they do it purposely, or do they just do it, to just for ha-has, or are they doing it just to help the devs so that, as you're mentioning, gives people time to the devs to work on patches, mini patches and stuff like this. So yeah, I'd say a good month or so would be a
Yeah,
good time frame for them to, before you would want to buy the game itself and play it, because it's going to patch and patch and patch, right? You know that for a fact.
of course.
Now,
Just like any good game.
exactly, just like with any game out there. I mean, look at some of the games. Even Battlefield 1, I think, was like the same thing. Was supposed to be where it was. When it first dropped, it was really laggy. There was a lot of things, like we talked about this, I believe, last week on the show, in regards to like things that were pixelated and they eventually fade in. It takes a while for it to load in. But GTA, of course, we'll talk about that, and uh, topic coming up soon, and in regards to like how things load. It takes forever for it to load, but by god, it's worth it at the end.
Exactly. And that's all you can really do is just wait for it and see how it's going to play.
Now, the 128 players versus 64, so this is how they're breaking it down. Okay, so there's a bigger maps. They're divided into sectors. Okay, each sectors, there's essentially like a mini battlefield match playing out. So there's like conquest mode. Teams can hold a sector by holding all the points within it. We've seen this before. We've seen that, in the games and stuff. You could be in one map sector and stuff like
Well,
that.
it's almost like capture the flag. You have to have
Yeah,
more points, you know.
right. Yeah, I mean, we see that a lot in Battlefield 1. I haven't played Battlefield 5 much to say that they have. I'm sure they have conquest or a game version of it, but I don't know. Now this one too also has I guess it has like tanks and stuff. Maybe you get tanks. So this is kind of going backwards. Kind of, well, I mean, you have Conquest that has tanks, but I remember it was like Battlefield 4. I think it had tanks and stuff, and it had the the Tomcats and stuff like that. We can get off there. I don't know. It was kind of things like that. What about the specialists? Can you tell us about that?
Well, they're getting new gadgets for the specialist,
Mm-hmm.
and they're getting new traits and stuff. But the characters can carry any weapon or any equipment loadout. Again, if you go for a specific class for a specialist,
Mm-hmm.
my personal opinion, if you're going for that the class, you should want the weapons and stuff for that class. But I
Right.
understand being able to reach out and tweak it in
Mm-hmm.
a sense to, you know, say you're an engineer, but you also want to do that support.
Mm-hmm.
I like the fact that you can tweak it to your own kind of like special class
Right.
rather than just being in one said class and having one set loadout for your equipment and your weapons.
See, that does make it more better. It gives you more kind of rounded option, to where instead of being like, before there was the engineer, they get the SMGs, recons, they get the snipers, and the
Hmm.
LMGs, of course, as supports. But it seems like on this one, you can rotate around and be the one particular. You don't have to be just one set of a category, or just a strictly class that's just strictly this and that and everything. You can be like
And it's not like if you want. I mean, there's always that option if you want to play like as everyone puts it, generic of a
right,
certain class, you can.
right.
But I like the fact that it's more customizable and unique to the player.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. I do too.
That
I do
and
too.
like the gadgets that they're throwing in here. I mean, You're getting a grappling hook.
A grappling hook. Imagine that.
Um, a health and revive gun. I'm not sure what that is, but that sounds pretty cool. Auto turrets,
Um,
movement sensors, which is going to be great for those people who like to camp.
Now, see, you mentioned that about the auto turrets. Is that going to be like a streak extra? You know, like how in like Call of Duty goes, where if you get so many kills or so many frags at a certain, five in a row, whatever, you get a UAV for the first three, and then five you can put a turret down. So I'm wondering if that's going to be, and people are going to start camping again, of
Well,
course.
yes, obviously. And I think that's why they're throwing in the movement sensor, especially like for people camping or when you're sniping. That way, people, it gives it a little bit more of a challenge to people sneaking up on you while you're doing that. But again, people like to camp. And that was one of my big problems with almost any first person shooter is I always have had trouble with campers.
Yeah, yeah. They're always there's always the one or dozen or two dozen that are going to do it. No matter what map, no matter what game of a first person shooter or even a BR map. You know,
Exactly.
there's going to be 10 unique gadgets that can be paired with any of the guns. You can also change your gun attachments on the fly. You can swap from a close to a long range optics to zoom in on a sniper who is harassing you, of course. There's all kinds of different things. Of course, the addition to the specialist items perk, there's primary weapon, the equipment like a med crate, supply crate, rocket or missile launchers. Your secondary, of course, your secondary weapon, your little hand pistol. There's throwables, the frags, or incendiary grenades and stuff like that as well, too. 14 different specialists. That's going to be
Al-
crazy.
Also, one I'm excited for because I think it's just cool is they're adding a wingsuit. So that means if you're up on top of like a hill or up on top of a building and you got someone closing in on you, you can quickly attach your wingsuit and fly to another spot.
See, now that's going to be interesting too. What was that Call of Duty Ghost or Call of Duty game that had that where you have the winged outfit where you can fly, and it's not the war zone or something like that, but it was something in similar. So that's going to be cool to see. That'd be different. There's no single player, no battle royale. Two mysteries of this game too.
Me personally, I love that they're stepping away from the battle royale with this game because we have lots of battle royale games out right now. Like there is a ton of battle royale games. And I'm glad that I'm pretty sure Battlefield 5 had battle royale, but I'm so glad that they're stepping out of that category and pushing away from their competition and doing something different.
And that's what I like about that. They do the thing about Battlefield is they do think outside the box. Yeah, they got the BR part, they got the battle royale, but I mean, think about like Conquest, like the size of that. When I played Battlefield 1, the first time when there was a conquest and there's tanks, there's all kinds of different things. It's like a massive like TDM, team deathmatch, but you can respawn and stuff like that, which is really cool. You can earn various different things. You capture the flags in a sense, but I think it's really cool how they have different things, and I don't think Battlefield 5 really got as much love as Battlefield 1. People felt that it was rushed. People didn't like the fact that you
Yeah.
could build, because when I play it, there's you can build structures and stuff like that, or you can help support like structures and stuff. It kind of seemed kind of weird.
Yeah, I mean, it's again, I like the battle royale games, but
Mm-hmm.
sometimes you put too much into it and I mean, stepping away from something that's huge and something that everyone is doing
Right.
can either make or break you. And with Battlefield being such a big name, I'm thinking it's possibly it might push them down a little,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
but then there's people like me who would rather not do battle royale all the time. So personally, I would enjoy playing it because it's not another battle royale game. It's not another battle royale first person shooter game.
There is a lot of BRs out there. They're all basically kind of the same. Where
Exactly.
we had this conversation before about how either it's gas moving in, closing down the circle, or it's fire or something like that. In other words, you're timed. PUBG, I think, was one of the very first ones that did that kind of a timing thing where its circle would
Mhm.
close and stuff like this. So that's interesting. But I'm glad, like you, I bet the BRs are cool, but they're stress inducing. And like you, they're not for me. I like TDM. I like capture the flag. I like interactions. The TDM, of course, is one of my favorites, and Conquest Battlefield 1 in particular is one of my favorites to play because you get to snipe from a distance. You have a large map. So I'm thinking now, if this is 128 players, the maps, I wonder how they're going to deal with the load times on this.
That's another good thing to think about because when that's something that a lot of people don't really think about when they first purchase a game, especially a brand new game.
Mm-hmm.
They don't think, hey, I'm going to just jump right in, I'm going to get on it, and I'm going to start shooting people. It's not that simple. You
Exactly.
have to you have to factor in how many people are trying to play at the same time. How many people are trying to load in?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I'm hoping, and this is just me being optimistic, I'm hoping the load times are not that long because that's something that off puts people. But again, it's a brand new game. It's not even out yet,
Right.
and a lot of people don't stop and think about that.
That's true.
They're just like, "Hey, new game. I want to play it."
Right, and they're going to be kind of disappointed if those people who don't do their homework on this, as you're mentioning, there's no single player, no battle royale. So people are going to be like, "Well, I yeah, I was expecting this to be a BR because
Exactly.
we're so numb on so many games that come out. Battlefield 1, okay, it had a BR. BF5 had the same thing. You know, battle
And then you
royale.
got PUBG and Fortnite and all those battle royales that are in competition.
Exactly. And now people are like, well, is it going to lower their clientele? Are people are going to buy it as much? I'm sure they will. I mean,
Oh, I'm sure they will,
there
but
are dice people who just love the company. In fact, I know a few people I follow on Twitter and stuff like this who are part of the dice community. And they're really cool people. They're really nice people. I've watched a lot of, content of players playing the games and stuff like this. And so,
I mean, I'm excited, but also kind of nervous to see how this is going to go.
you nervous about it? It's set
Yeah.
21 years into the future. How bad can that be, right? We know a lot about futuristic games, don't we?
Oh,
Cyberpunk.
yes. Yeah, exactly. And if you go back to the first episode, you'll hear just how we feel about that. But
Yeah.
one thing I'm excited for is the fact that on release, there's going to be 10 specialists.
Okay. That's
And
good.
each season, which obviously there's 4 seasons per year,
Mhm.
there's going to be a new specialist release. So in total, within 1 year of the launch, there will be 14 specialists.
Now, see, that's going to be interesting. People are going to be like, well, I can't do this one. For me, like Battlefield 1, I always usually was I felt the field. I usually was support class. I sniped or I did the LMGs or the
Hmm.
so I was either those three. I didn't mind the flying part. I actually got really good after a while. But there was people who did circles around me flying. My friends would just like laugh at me as I crashed into a tree and they're like a butterfly flying in the forest, all gentle and kicking their asses of other planes, which I found impossible to do. But I'm wondering, is there going to be vehicles and stuff like this in this new futuristic version of this game? I mean, they're jumping 21 years, so I'm assuming there's going to be things. I'm sure there's going to be new vehicles like jets and helicopters and tanks, which is going to be interesting.
Yeah, I mean, the text shouldn't be too out there because, like you said, it's only 21 years into the future.
Right.
Think about the last 21 years and how far we've come. There's probably going to be, drones
Mm-hmm.
because those are really big in the
Right.
world right now. Um, Jets, helicopters, tanks, ground vehicles. Well, maybe there's going to be some hoverboards, hovercrafts. Um, Other than that, we really don't know until the game comes out. I mean, I've heard that there's a new vehicle call-in system which drops the vehicles from the sky, which can be used as an advantage if you spot an enemy. You can drop a tank on them and squish them. But also, apparently, your team will have a vehicle budget. So you can spawn in vehicles, but it has a cooldown and you can only get a certain amount. So you have to think smart when you're calling in a vehicle.
See, yeah, see that's the thing too. It obviously has a cooldown time. It seems like. I don't know if I'm gonna feel about hovercrafts. I mean, are we talking, you know, are we talking about the ones that are in the water? Are we talking back like Battlefield 1 where there's the Navy, there's a map in, I believe it's Conquest. Well, I think it could be TDM too, but in Conquest in particular, you can have multiple ships and stuff like this, and then there's these, excuse me, there's other ships that are I guess I don't know if they're, I don't think they are hovercrafts, but they're similar to it.
I don't know, but EA says that naval combat has not been a big focus in this game. It's more hand to hand, down in the action, rather than up in the air and
Right.
on the water.
Now there's something about a ranger robot dog.
That seems interesting.
I mean,
And you can get it to follow you around. You can send it out to scout for other players, and you can have it self destruct.
now that's going to be interesting.
I think I think with that is probably like a drone in a sense,
Mm-hmm.
where it's gonna have like a camera on it. Obviously, if you're using it to scout ahead, you would want a camera on it.
Right.
And if you see someone in the distance, you can tell it to self destruct, or you can even tell it to stick C4 to itself
So
and run that shit all the way to another player and blow it up.
So you're telling me it's basically like a little a bomb on wheels or on four legs that can blow up another. Now see
Pretty
there,
much.
that's a twist. There's something new, like basically you can use that for your advantage. Like if somebody's hiding around a corner, and if you tell Sick'em robot dog to go
Yep.
to that area to hit that person on the other end. So I like that. I like that.
That's an interesting and new twist
It
for
is.
sure. I have never seen that in another game.
No, I've never seen anything like that before.
And I think that is awesome because that can be either huge or it can be a really big flop and give you lots of funny moments.
That would be kind of cool to get some extra bonus footage of that. I can see people doing that, creating stuff like that. There are all out warfare maps. There are 7 in total, at least described in EA's words. The Kaleidoscope. This is set in Sagdo, South Korea. There's Manifest, which is set in Singapore. I wonder if these places actually do exist. I'll have to Google those.
They're probably based on real places.
Uh, or
I would think.
something close to it. I would assume. Yeah, I
Hmm.
would assume. Orbital is in the French Guiana. Guiana? I said that totally wrong. Uh,
What I like about the description on that map is the battle
mhm.
is over a rocket launch site.
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. I didn't give really a description of it. Yeah, that sounds really cool, like a rocket launching area.
and it's said to be like the controversial space launch that became a race against time. So I'm thinking maybe, kind of like the Great Space Race
Oh
where they're
yeah.
where they're trying to be quick and launch the rockets. So I'm ready to see these maps.
I am too. I am very much. I'm excited about some of these things that they're already discussing. There's like the kaleidoscope, as I said, they will clash to control quantum powered disformation hub. So it kind of sounds like a uh, factory slash hub place. I
Yeah,
don't know what that would be, but I guess like a networking facility. So maybe it's a
yeah,
facility fight.
that'd be pretty cool.
That would be really cool. Let's see, there would be the discarded, which is in India. Now, see, that would be like ships and stuff like that. I would assume that's
Hmm.
what they said, anyways. That, from what they have described, it was going to be about ships and facing tidal extremes. So, are we going to have like tidal waves that are going to come over there? Is there going to be a certain time? Because I know Call of Duty Ghost did that. There's a map in Advanced Warfare where you're in San Francisco, and after a time, there's a tidal wave that, or tsunami that hits. So, that'd be kind of cool.
That would be interesting.
My favorite sounding map, though, from what I had heard, I believe it was called Renewal, which was in the desert of Egypt. I've always had a thing for Egypt. I don't know why.
Ooh, I wonder if you're gonna see any pyramids.
I'm betting you are going to see some Giza, the Giza Strip. I'm assuming
That'd be cool.
at least some. Give me some of those pyramids in the background, or at least let me go into a
You know,
pyramid for extra points.
I mean, yeah, that'd be awesome to be able to go into the pyramid and battle in the pyramid. But even if they don't do that, at least like put it right outside the zone
Right? Yeah.
so you have those visuals
Hmm.
that make it feel like, hey, I'm in the desert.
Right.
It's hot here. It's we're getting down to the nitty gritty and we're out here where there's nothing but open space. Like how would they do that?
Hmm. I would
Cuz
assume.
cuz if you think about Egypt and you think about the desert, it is a lot of open
Oh
space.
yeah, it's the
Are
playground of the
they
world.
gonna are they gonna have like are you gonna have to hide behind sand dunes?
It's the sandbox of the world. Oh, now see, that would be kind of cool. I'm sure there's a map on Battlefield 1 that has just a tease of desert, where you can go up on the hills itself and snipe downward at buildings. So it kind of makes you wonder, ooh, imagine this. What if you were able to say, I'm on one pyramid and you're on another pyramid, X amount of distance between each other, and we can snipe each other off a pyramid. Like you're physically in a
That'd be
pyramid.
really cool.
You're like poking your head out like a groundhog, or
Like at the very tip top, there's like a little like window almost
yeah, yeah.
where you can it's got a little lip that keeps you hidden except for your head
Mm-hmm.
and you put your sniper on that.
And
That'd be pretty cool.
see, now that I could dig. I like it. Yeah. There. I don't. I am expecting sand storms. Just thinking outside the
Yeah.
box. I'm at time of recording. I'm assuming there's going to be sandstorms. There's going to be different things. The elements. I don't know if there will be. Now, if they threw like animals and stuff in, like snakes and stuff, that'd be really cool too. But I think that would just get like a whole different game. People just want to do the fighting versus,
Hmm.
stuff like that. That one
I mean,
sounds good to me though.
if there was a single player mode,
Hmm.
that would be interesting if you did have the single player mode and they had all these maps and you had to fight the elements, you had to fight the the wildlife as well as still trying to survive through the battle
Hmm.
and stuff like that. But again, there is no single player on Battlefield 2042.
Right.
So we'll just have to wait and see what it is that they throw into the desert map. That's what I'm really excited to see.
Yeah, Renewal definitely sounds like a map I would definitely want to vote for, of course.
Yes.
There's one, it's called, speaking of like deserty type things too, there was one, it was called Hourglass, and that's set in Qatar. and that was like a shipping convoy, shifting sands. It's gonna sounds like it's more in the city, but outside of
Hmm.
that area will
On the
be
outskirts.
right will be the desert stuff. So I hope they like Battlefield. What was it? Battlefield 4, where you're able to get into those tall structures and the deconstruction or explosions of different like buildings and stuff. I really hope they wow me this time around like they did in Battlefield 4. I want to say it was, because you could blow up or you could blow up a lot of stuff in that game, and the buildings and stuff would explode. And I thought that was really cool. I only played it like a handful of times because there was a very limited free time to play that game. But I hope they have that here in the near future with
Hmm.
these games. This 2042.
The last map that they have listed as of right now
Mm-hmm.
is Breakaway.
Oh,
Now, it
ooh.
is set in Antarctica.
Oh, hell no.
Now, to me, that sounds way too cold,
Uh,
but you know, they're they're putting pretty much everything out there as what you know,
mhm, mhm.
location, cuz you've got the desert, you've got the
We got the
the
water,
cities, the
right?
water,
The
and
rocket
now they're
launching.
throwing ice in it.
Why
I
not?
mean, exactly,
I mean, you got the
what I what I'm wondering in that one is, Antarctica's ice.
ooh.
Are you gonna slip when you're
Oh,
running?
see, that's a
Are
good
you gonna
question.
What about when ice breaks?
Ooh, will there be
You know?
faults and cracks and stuff that you could fall into?
Uh-huh.
Like somebody throws a grenade, does it crack the ice? And that would give it really some realism there. And
I
then
mean,
somebody falls into it and they die of hypothermia, of course, or you know.
that one's supposed to be like a struggle over oil and gas, which, you know, that's a big thing in itself. The fact that, a lot of like oil spills and stuff come from that area.
Oily and ice, they just don't mix together because they're both slippery
No,
as
they're both
hell.
slippery.
But see, it says oil and gas, so that makes me wonder. Say if they have like an oil rig or something that's they're pumping out, bubbling out oil, like Beverly
Hmm.
Hillbillies, it's Texas black gold, Texas tea, and you have this rig. Well, what if you shoot it, or what if it does it set fire? Because obviously oil is quite volatile in a sense,
Yeah.
and then you add gas to it. I'm assuming an ethanol type gas, and bada
Or
boom,
are
bada
you
bing.
sitting on a giant bomb?
Pretty much. I mean, that'd be
You
interesting.
have to be very precise with this map, or is it going to be like one of those run in, spray and pray kind of things?
Yeah, I'm kind of
I'm excited.
curious.
I'm excited to see where it goes with that one.
I'm curious to know like
Like,
where the choke points are, where there's the face to face interactions where I hide behind a wall, you hide behind this wall, we're shooting at each other. So those choke points will make or break, especially like that map because it's icy, cold, desolate.
yeah.
Sounds like an ex girlfriend
Are
or boyfriend, but yeah.
are you gonna have to? Another big question with all of these maps: are you gonna have to change up your your gear, like
Oh,
your what you're wearing?
so you don't
Is that
die.
gonna take up more space in your like inventory, so you can't carry as many weapons, or you can? It's one thing that I'm wondering is like, say with the breakaway map where it's in Antarctica, are you
Mm-hmm.
gonna have to wear gloves and fumble with your guns
Are they gonna really
to
make
where
it?
it's not gonna be as easy?
Do you think they'll really put the time? I mean, well, think about like it total different maker, but as in my example, Call of Duty Advanced Warfare, you get like a shit ton of outfits that absolutely do nothing but just eye appeal.
Change your character's look.
Yeah, eye candy. I mean, it has nothing to do with anything in relation to the game. It doesn't change any of the games. It doesn't alter things at all. It's just there to appease your eyeballs. So what you said though actually holds more. like possibilities because of the fact that you're in an Arctic climate. Are you going to freeze, or are you going to do that? Or if you're in Egypt, of course you would want to wear looser clothing.
Lighter clothing,
Yeah, so does it.
lighter armor, so you don't die of heat exhaustion. I really think that that's something they should do is give you that elemental
Mhm.
ex- aspect to it, to where if you're wearing the wrong thing, you could overheat faster or you could get colder faster and make it more difficult.
Now, see the argument though on the opposite side of the coin. People would say, "Well, what does that have to do with me going over there and popping Joe Schmo in the head with a sniper bullet?" But I see what you're meaning, and I think it's a hell of a good idea. I think they should do something like that. But will it play any relation to the game physics and stuff like that? If I was them, if I was the makers of 2040, if I was Dice, I would kind of look at that angle and look at it like, what a little extra, just a tweak, because it's not a BR, it's not a single player.
Mm,
So now we have a lot more manpower to focus on this and this and this instead of making the BR and stuff. But what
yeah.
if we tweak a little bit of different things? So that would be kind of interesting if they did tweak those kind of settings. I would be interested in that.
I mean, like, say the breakaway map. If you stay still for too long, like you're sniping, you get colder quicker because you're not moving and your blood's not flowing. That would be a cool aspect.
I would like
It's something different, something new.
the element. Yeah, that would be a first, not only in their series but also just in general. I don't think I've ever seen
Exactly.
a TDM game, or even a game of that magnitude, where you could, the elements affect you physically. Like you're trying to snipe, you're holding your breath, but you can't because you're shaking. So that means
You're shivering.
yeah,
It's
your ADS
cold.
now has been altered because of that. But if
Yep.
you got like thermal gloves, like thermal warmed gloves,
Yeah, thermal wear.
yeah, then that would be really cool. That I could.
Now Dice is also working with NVIDIA again to work on their ray tracing as well as their reflex latency optimization for those players that are using the GeForce RTX graphics
I
cards.
believe you have one, correct? You have a.
I do.
See,
I have the GeForce RTX 2060.
I do too. I have the art. Well, I have the RTX Super 2060. So ours are identical.
Yours is just
A little bit more on the
little bit
benchmarks, a
beefier.
little beefier. Mine's the equivalent of a 2070, but both of them have the tracing, the ray trace on it.
Hmm.
So basically, what that does is it gives the extra boost to the colors, the graphics. Like the water looks
Yeah.
really realistic. There's a couple games I play right now. In fact, GTA I believe is one of them that has the ray tracing uh, option, but I think it kind of really. I don't know. I don't know if it's fully. I'll have to test it. I'll test it. I think I turned it on one
Exactly.
time, but I think I dropped to like 40 frames. So it's not like I
Yeah.
can't do it. It's just, is my community going to say, okay, well, this is supposed to be 60 1080, not 40 1080. Okay. Yeah. I
Exactly.
don't want to go back down that road of 30 frames a second. Foo foo. That was horrible. Okay.
Ah, trust me, I know.
720 with 30 frames per second for 4 years was hell. I'm
Uh
surprised I
huh.
was able to do it. So,
Now, the next big public reveal is actually going to be on the EA Play Live coming up on the 22nd, which is only a couple days away.
which is literally just days away. Exactly.
And that's when we're going to find out more about what DICE has for LA's Mystery Love Letter mode. I'm not sure what that's going to be about, but we'll find out on the 22nd. We should also find out about Hazard Zone, which
Hazard
is
Zone.
another mystery part to this game.
Oh, that's what they talked. Okay. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
So we got some cool things getting out there right around the corner. I know that Hazard Zone will be available to play early for the open beta for those who pre-ordered the
Mm-hmm.
game,
Mm-hmm.
though none of the early release stuff for the subscribers for EA that they used to do have heard about it.
Okay, so
So
okay, I gotcha. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Well, that's
we're still waiting to see some new stuff from this game, but it is set to release full on October 22nd. So just a couple more months.
I mean, literally, we're just talking. Yeah, very, very soon. The
Yep.
22nd will be a Friday of this year, which is really
What a great way to start the
what
weekend.
a great way, man. Pop a beer open, sit back, relax, wait hours inside a lobby that's never gonna,
Uh-huh.
because it's overly stuffed. But that's okay though. But
Yep.
are they going to be able to handle that? That's a lot. That's the question. Like there when Battlefield 5 dropped, I remember it was a nightmare. Battlefield 1 was a nightmare too because again, as you mentioned earlier about, waiting for a month or so for it to cool down before you bought the game itself because there's people that are going to just flood it and just be those first ones
Uh-huh.
to play the game, which I
Yep.
respect. I mean, obviously, as us, like I said before, as us as content producers, we make content for our viewers. That's what we do. That's what we live for when we stream and live stream with our communities. But I mean, it's one thing to have available content, but even if you have a powerful PC or, it's not going to help you get into their servers because their
Hmm.
servers are just one way only in. It's only VIP entries and stuff, but yeah, that's how it
Yep.
is. October 22nd. And the PC version will be on the EA store,
Hmm.
Electronic Arts Original Store.
But it'll also be on Steam and Epic as well.
That, I don't know if I have EA installed. I don't think I have anything EA. I know I have Steam, obviously, and Epic.
I have EA plays through the Xbox Game Pass, but I
Hmm.
don't know if I have EA Origins.
I
That's something I'll have to look into.
Right. I know there's an Origin client if you buy it on Steam, so it's kind of like Overwatch. Overwatch has
Mhm.
the Battlefield. What is it? Battlefield Net, I think it's called BattleNet, to where you have to because I bought it on Steam. I want to say it was, I think, and then I had to
Mhm.
download the BattleNet to play the game itself.
Yeah. Well, as of right now, there's going to be 10 specialists and the 7 maps,
Mm-hmm.
but there will be new specialists and new maps that come in seasons. So that will be 4 within the first year that you will get new specialists and new maps. Each of them which include, battle passes with the free or the paid tiers.
Hmm.
But new maps will always be free for all players, according to EA.
See that? That's cool. I can't wait for this. We'll see. There's near future versions of the vehicles. We
Hmm.
mentioned that already, but I mean, like jets and helicopters. I mean, how futuristic can they look? I always thought the Concorde. Do you ever remember
I
what
mean,
the Concorde looked like? It looked very futuristic, even from what the 80s and 90s. That thing was around.
I mean, I'm excited to see just how futuristic they can make this stuff look. Like, are there going to be flying cars, or is it all just going to be ground? Is there going to be, you know, like you said, the futuristic looking helicopters? What are they going to do with those? And the jets and stuff. It's one of the things that I'm excited to see with this game and where it goes.
I am too. I really hope that they focus on, not only on the content but also too for load times, because if you're dealing with 128 players, 128 people on a server. I mean, look at like GTA. It loads the whole map before you actually step foot into the game itself. When you go on for the
Yeah.
online and stuff, it fully, totally, just like Red Dead Redemption. They have it. Rockstar has it all set up there, and it fully loads in. Now, Battlefield does the same. It seems they're going to load in. When you play Battlefield 1 or whatever, it takes forever to load in. Sometimes you get that. I really hope they fixed a lot of the issues, though, they had in Battlefield 1 and 5. I really, really hope, because there was a lot of issues with load times, and like you couldn't get your friends in. There was a whole bunch of different stuff that you had to do.
obstacles that you
Right,
had to get through.
right. Yeah, see, that's the things I really hope that they focus on, is because if there's a lot of lag, if there's a lot of issues like that up front, I'm hoping that they patch those too. Because if they don't patch those issues up front in the beginning of it, then I don't know.
Yeah. Now, there was a question asked. It says, "Will snipers still spend the whole match lying on a hill?" And the answer to that question is, would it really be a Battlefield game if they didn't? So, you're gonna
Oh
have
boy.
your snipers,
I mean, there.
and if you can pinpoint where they're coming from, that's awesome. Go take them out. But just know there's probably another one somewhere too.
Mm. See, I've always
'Cause-
loved sniping even though I'm not the best sniper, but man, it felt really good on Battlefield 1. Now, Battlefield 5, I never really got to snipe on there too much because I have only played it a few times. And probably coming soon, it will be on my channel. We'll have to jump back into some
Mhm.
Battlefield 5. Um,
I mean, I have it on my computer. So
mhm.
if there's a way for me to jump in with you, I would.
I don't know
Of
if
course, that's when I get my PC back up and running.
is there cross-platform on that right now? Uh,
I'm not sure. That's something I will definitely look into
mhm.
and get back to you on because I don't like playing games like Battlefield and Call of Duty by myself.
Right.
I like to have friends to play with.
One note we didn't talk or discuss about this, and people don't realize it, and this might be a downplay too. This might be like a uh-oh moment. Uh-oh. You ready for this?
Hit me with it.
A version of this game, of Battlefield 2042, will be coming out for the PS4. I like how they mention it's older. Okay. The
Yes.
PS4 and the Xbox One consoles, but here's the big kick to the teeth. Those versions won't support 128 player matches or crossplay with PC or the new consoles. So let me re-say that again. They are coming out with a version of the Battlefield 2042. So if you, like myself, have an Xbox One, which you love and dear because it's better than the 360, but it's not as new as the squeaky Xbox Series X or S, they are coming out for the older PlayStation 4 and the Xbox One consoles, but those will not support the 128 player match or cross plays with the PC or those people with those squeaky new brand new PS5/Xbox Series XSs. That right there is like, what?
That's kind of a put off if you think about it. And not just for me, but for a lot of people because like I just said, I prefer having people to hang out with and talk to that I know when I
Right.
play games like that. That's one of those things that I would think they would make it cross platform because not everyone can afford to get one of the new gen models.
I don't know why they would do that to a degree. I mean, I could see it makes kind of sense. I guess it has a lot to do with the support of the game itself, the coding of it, the
Yeah.
fast action. The Xbox Series X and S, they're supposed to be 60 frames. Okay, so they're eventually everything is starting to. Here's a thought. Xbox One, PS4. I don't think they're going to have as long as longevity as the Xbox 360 or the PS3. I really don't.
Yeah, true.
Xbox. It seems like right now, like I look how long Xbox 360 was on the market for. There wasn't really any competition outside of PlayStations, right? There was, and
Yeah.
and then up came along where they're like, okay, well, game manufacturers, these devs are making these games a lot more faster. There's more input. The processing speed for this stuff has to be faster. I have to connect all these ports into this port so this person can play who's in China. This person in Australia can play together with the person who's in Chicago, Illinois.
Yeah.
So you had to think about all that stuff. So maybe now that we're starting to speed up the process of killing the Xbox One and the PlayStation 4 to make room for these new, bigger games, these faster games now. And that's going to be kind of, sad, because is it going to be the doomsday for the Xbox One and PS4? Like how the Xbox 360 and PS3 are now just bookshelves or in people's collectors.
And yeah,
they're sitting on their, they're sitting in a corner, like in their box, which is okay.
they're sitting in the corner like a child in trouble.
Yeah, they're in timeout. They're like, you've been good for 10, 12 years, but now we're going to put you out. Now, the Xbox One hasn't been out that long, has it? Has it been like 6 years, maybe 5, 6
Yeah,
years?
it's not been out too long, that's for sure.
I remember.
But
Mm-hmm.
but again, with the newer gen consoles, how long is the Xbox One and the PS4 actually going to last?
See, there's the question too. Like, okay, now you have to make a game that's more realistic. It is a bigger. I mean, I wonder how many gigs is this thing going to be? Is it going to be 100 gigs? Is it going to be like a terabyte almost? I mean, half a terabyte, 500 gigs just to hold all the content.
It's definitely going to be one of those big games.
I mean,
in the size category, it's going to be big because of everything they have planned to put in this game. That's like a given.
It was like Red Dead Redemption, where you have the option to buy the game, full game, or you cut out the fat, and now you make it where it's just Red Dead Online. So it got rid of the story mode. The price dropped. The price point dropped completely, and people are now playing it. And there's less. It's not as big as the one would be if you had the full game itself. So it dropped a lot of the fat off of the gigs and stuff. Like I say to a lot of people too, the games themselves are not that big. It's the video content that they put into it, the voicing.
Yeah.
Like Battlefield 1, in the beginning of every map or conquest, it gives you a story. It gives you the full that right there is like an MP4, maybe it's like an MFK or MK or whatever it is for the formatting, but it's still big. Voicing and stuff. Voice is a lot. Video is a big crunch. For like the size of those files. So I don't know. We'll see. Am I going to get it? Possibly. October 22nd, ladies and gentlemen, Battlefield 2042 comes out. That is this just a few months away. Coming up on the second hour, the Megabyte podcast with myself and Buddy Fufu, we're going to be discussing the untitled fourth Matrix film. Well, it's actually, we'll just call it the Matrix 4. That'll be coming up here on the top of the hour. We'll be right back, ladies and gentlemen. And we're going to be discussing the fourth Matrix film. There's 4 of these bad boys.
Now, growing up, the Matrix was a big name in my household.
In the Fufu rabbit hole?
Oh, yes.
Nice.
It's what really got Keanu Reeves out there as far as the name. And he's come so far since the first Matrix movie, and I'm so excited that they're actually doing a 4th.
I gotta do it. You ready? Excellent. Sorry. Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure. Remember, he was in that too, but he was a young lad.
Yeah.
I
think that was his first one.
That was kind of the make and break, but the Matrix really just put him over the edge.
Him to the moon.
Right.
Really did.
Right. Now let's talk a little bit about this, and we'll do some backing of the other trilogy before this 4th one. This right here is coming out. The release date is said to be in the US December 22nd, which is another we're in these 22nd parts of the The releases.
Yep,
What's going on with that?
it's supposed to be coming out right before Christmas.
Now that's coming out on a Wednesday for those who are counting down. So Christmas is that coming weekend.
That weekend, yes.
Ho ho ho!
Hey Santa, you know what you can bring me? Bring me
What?
the fourth Matrix.
Now Keanu Reeves, of course, is reappearing back as Neo. Of course, that's the thing. You have Jada
And
Pinkett
and
Smith
Carrie Ann Moss is also coming back as Trinity.
as Trinity. Now that's exciting. So
Yes.
what do you remember? Okay, so out of the three that are already out there, okay, which one do you think you like, or which one really puts you into it?
Well, the first one obviously is what really like put me into it.
Right.
Just like how it went from Neo being just a regular person on the street,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
and then he's he's the one. He's thrown into it not knowing what's going on, and over the whole trilogy how much he grew
He grew
was just
tremendously.
it was amazing. Like all the Matrix movies really just like sucked me in and got my attention. And the way it started was amazing because it's something that you wouldn't think would happen. And it's
Yeah.
something that normally does not happen in movies.
Right. We talked about that before, like series like sequels and stuff usually don't make it as good as the first one because the first one is like the ooh, and then the second one's like, okay, I get it. Like Space Jam, we were talking about that last podcast in regards to Space Jam 2. But let's rewind time a little bit. Let's listen to some of these stats. This is talking we're talking way back in the year March 24th, 1999. So we're just talking pre-springtime. We're still talking winter. March 24th, 1999, the release date of the original Matrix. Okay.
Hmm.
Keanu Reeves, Lawrence Fishburne, Hugo Weaving. The release date of that, there was 136 minutes. Okay. The countries are US and Australia. The budget for this movie at the time was $63 million. At the box office, it took in $465.3 million. So after you're covering your cover of your budget, that's $402.3 million in your pocket.
Hmm.
And then Uncle Sam says, "I want mine." But you think about it though, for a minute, it's like a cyberpunk genre, a subgenre, if you will, the Matrix. The Matrix was, I think, one of the very first movies ever that had that slow motion action where
Hmm.
a bullet flies by, it's zooming in, and all of a sudden it's slow down, and he looks at it and it flies by at super speed. Now,
And that's one of the most iconic
oh, it's
moments in that movie.
it's definitely the most. It definitely is. There's no question. The movies were great, but having those extra, even back then in 1999, those bullet times, as they call it, was amazing. It was like, holy hell, what is this?
Exactly. It was something new and different that was not done in movies
Well, this
at
is
that time.
this is why it won 4 Best Academy Awards: Best Visual Effects, Best Film Editing, Best Sound, and Best Sound Editing. Editing, because it was just a freaking amazing amount of holy hell. I mean, it's chaos. It starts a little sluggish, but it gives you the backstory of it. It starts
Mm.
filling in, starts going in. So now you have the Neo, the under the hacker alias Neo, I should say. Um, you have all these visual effects that goes on as time progresses. This anime, he's like amazing in influence in um the martial arts, I guess it is martial arts. So you had the martial arts in the film, you had Japanese animation, you have all these like all this stuff that's influenced in it. Oh, it was
Yeah.
great. But now that
And,
comes, go ahead.
and see when the first one come out, I was only 5 years old.
Mm-hmm.
So, as a kid, seeing stuff like that was obviously it was way out there, but me and my brothers used to love trying to recreate the Matrix
Really?
as children because we were just so like engrossed in it and we loved it so much that we I remember us in our bedrooms trying to play out the movie.
Mhm.
And it's actually one of excuse me, it's one of my favorite memories as a kid was seeing that and then loving it so much. And then this was back when me and my brothers actually got along.
Hmm.
Sibling rivalry took over that, but
Right.
it was it was the original, creation of AI.
Right.
And that was like something no one ever talked about, especially not in movies
Mhm.
back then. And seeing how far it's come,
Right.
so ready for this movie to come out already.
Now, The Matrix Reloaded, after the first one, after the first the Matrix, The Matrix Reloaded was one of the ones I kind of remember more than any of them, which is kind of weird. It was like 6 months after the events of The Matrix is when it supposedly was
Mhm.
happening. There's a romance. I think there was a romance involved in it and stuff. That Morpheus receives the message from, calling an emergency meeting for all the Xeon and stuff like this. So that one had a budget of 127 to 150 million dollars. It made at the box office. Are you ready for this tongue twistering one?
Oh God.
$739.4 million. That is a large marge. Holy hell, that's a lot of money.
Yeah,
I
that's
mean,
a good chunk of change.
that's like at least 5 times what you put into the movie itself, which is crazy. And now
Mhm.
I'm hoping was The Matrix Reloaded, by the way, was the highest grossing R-rated film until, of course, Deadpool, but that's a whole different
Mhm.
ballgame because obviously that one was like huge. That was in 2016. I want to say it was the Matrix. I'm sorry, the Deadpool. Whereas,
Yeah, somewhere in there.
right, as the second Reloaded, that came out in what, 4 years after 2002, 2003.
Yeah, around 2003.
And that had 138 minutes running. So it was just 2 minutes more so than the original. The original one. Now, so this one here, the development of this, they were talking about they didn't want to do another one. They didn't want to do another make of a movie. They thought three was enough.
Mhm.
So that's what the producers, the Wankowskis told their collaborators. Try saying that backwards 6 times. It's not gonna work. They thought that they had no intentions of making a sequel to a fourth installment, if you will. They didn't want to do it. There was circulation online in 2012 that it was reported that they were planning to make 2 additional films in this series, and they were talking with Keanu Reeves about reprising his role as Neo. But rumors, you know how they are. 2014 claimed the siblings had submitted a story treatment for a new trilogy to Warner Brothers, but that was false advertising, false story.
Yep.
So, which is really weird. I don't know. They talked about it. They talked about doing it and stuff like this. This is going to be really. The project was called Ice Cream. Project Ice Cream. That's a different name. And
Yeah.
I didn't know if you knew this or not, but a lot of times these big movies, they will have project names that are not the movie names. So that way the identity of it is hidden. Although, like Star Wars, I think they had one. I forgot what it was. There was one. There was a series of movies. They have hidden names, so that way, if you were like the Transformers, for example, if they're filming it in Detroit, people are like, "Wow, there's like they're filming something here. What are they filming?" It could be
Yep.
the briefcases.
So that way, if something gets leaked, it's not actually about the
Right,
actual movie. It's one of those distractions.
right. And see, that's what's kind of funny. A lot of things have code names. A lot of movies do. A lot of even some video game productions too. Well,
Mhm.
the president of the United States has a code name and stuff like that as well too. So I guess I can kind of see it. But you made a perfect valid point. It's exactly why they do it. They do that. They hide it so that way people don't catch on to what it is. The filming began in San Francisco. The production began in San Francisco last year, February 4th. They also took place in Germany and Chicago as well too, which is kind of cool. And there were damage that was inflicted to streetlights. What was it? San Francisco? I think I remember hearing something like that. There was damage inflicted to buildings and streetlights during the production. But what do you expect? What do you expect when you're filming a movie? Of course, things are gonna.
I mean, it's the Matrix.
It is. It is
You
definitely
you've got running and gunning. You've got all sorts of different. There's probably going to be car chases and stuff.
right.
You gotta expect some kind of damage.
Now, Keanu Reeves, of course, John Wick. Isn't Lawrence Fishburne in those two? I think the
I'm not sure because me personally, I have not watched any of the John Wicks. I need to get on the ball with that, but I haven't watched any of them.
is it supposed to be like a spin-off of the Matrix to a degree? I don't know anything of
I
it, but I know he
don't
stars
know.
in it.
I honestly don't know, but it's something I would look into. The one thing, since you said Lawrence Fishburne, the one thing that is kind of depressing me about this movie is the fact that he is not going to be in it as Morpheus.
Really?
Morpheus is not going to be in this fourth movie.
Hmm.
And Lawrence Fishburne even said he doesn't understand why he's not in the movie. You know, it would all come down to why Lana Wachowski, if I hope I'm saying
Mm-hmm.
that correctly. It all comes down to her and why she's not putting Morpheus in it.
Hmm.
But that has been confirmed that Morpheus is not in the fourth Matrix.
That's kind of
And that
interesting.
makes me really sad because he was a big part of the first three.
Right. Yeah. Well, it's kind of odd that they have so many okay, so they have Matrix. Oh, there was so many different ones. Matrix, the Matrix. I'm putting those two words together. The Matrix Revolutions. That was an interesting one. That one had the 110, $150 million budget.
Hmm.
Then the original Matrix. Now they have the fourth one here is coming up here. Keanu Reeves, of course, obviously the big winner of this one. I mean, everything he touches turns to gold, it seems. It seems like everything he does. Think about all the movies he has done, except
for Cyberpunk.
I was just about to
He
say
was in Cyberpunk and that was a flop.
that
But
was
that wasn't his fault.
no, he had nothing to do with it, right?
I did play up to getting the Keanu Reeves character, and I will say his acting for that character was amazing. So, everything Keanu Reeves does is good.
Right.
It's just, he's better with the movies than he is with, he should have kept his name away from Cyberpunk.
They had comics. The Matrix comic series is 1 through 3.
Yes, and they also have had video games and an animated film.
They had an anniversary edition. They had Matrix Online, the official magazine. That was in 2005.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, holy crap. They had so many things that start. I mean, just think about okay, the bullet time, for example. You know how far back that goes? I don't know if
the beginning.
I don't know if you're aware of this, but basically the invention of cinema itself was the primary work of this, and I'm probably going to destroy this name. Etienne Jules Maury. He was a French scientist, a physiologist, try saying that backwards, and a chronophotographer. He was one of the first people ever to use still photography like that, or the bullet drop, if you will, bullet time thing, which is really kind of interesting. Later experimenting, of course, was Edward Muybridge. He was a photographer, English photographer, in studies of motion and working early works in motion pictures. We're talking like 1878, the very first Sally Gardner and a Gallop, I believe it was called. 1878 was the very first still image, like photo frame by frame, where slow motion like that, the bullet time. So that's where it came into. The that's what they call it nowadays, which is kind of funny because it's in a lot of games and stuff now. Slow motion effects were featured in gameplay mechanics in video games, like Cyclone Studios' Requiem Avenging Angel, which was released in 1999, had slow motion effects like the bullet time effect in The Matrix. Max Payne was another game that I can think of that had the first true implementation of a bullet time effect that enables the player to have an added limited control as aiming and shooting during the slow motion mechanic. That was one of the very first ones, of course. The fear scenes, and believe it or not, it was even used in live music. One of the bands that Creed, they used that in 2009 for their live DVD, Creed Live.
So I had that DVD.
You know, the achieved photography, how they set it up is with still cameras surrounding an object or a subject in a sense. That's how it does it. They're all firing sequentially at the same time, depending on the desired effect. They're then arranged and displayed consecutively to produce an orbiting viewpoint of an action frozen in time or as a hyper slow motion. That seems like a lot of work. But then again, so is frame by frame, movie like Robot Chicken. Yes. So the technique suggests that limitless perspectives and variable frame rates are possible with a virtual camera, but still the array process is done with real cameras. So in other words, you could do it digitally. Yeah, you could take a camera, any kind of video camera that's electronic, but the best one though is for like original cameras, like just still, real cameras that you can, I guess, snap, like a photography cameras versus electronic cameras, which is really cool. I like that. I've always wondered how they did that, and that is really cool. And if you could only imagine, like if like Lucas had that kind of stuff back in the day for Star Wars, how that stuff, how that would be like, wow, how interesting that would be to have. It was titled I don't think they really have they just call it The Matrix 4.
Yeah, they don't have a title yet. So everyone's just calling it the fourth Matrix or the Matrix 4.
No,
I hope they figure something out for the title soon, since, it's supposed to come out in December, which is only 5 months away.
Ugh. And the 16th of March last year, of course, of the pandemic, it was halted. The production was halted, and it reinstated, I guess, in August as they resumed in Berlin. Daniel Bernhardt was reprising his role as Agent Johnson from The Matrix Reloaded. Yeah, I was just about to think. He's from The Matrix Reloaded. I remember that. And I guess Christina Ricci is also part of the cast as well.
Also in the cast, as well as Neil Patrick Harris, Jonathan Groff, Priyanka Chopra. And these are all undisclosed roles at the time.
Right.
But we'll find out a little closer to release where they fit in.
Right.
But the main ones is, Neo, Trinity, Niobe is going to be Jada Pinkett Smith again. Agent Johnson's Daniel Bernhardt. We've got the main group except for Lawrence Fishburne.
Right.
Which, again, makes me very sad because I think Matrix, I think Neo, Trinity, and Morpheus.
Right. Yeah, those are the big those are the big ones.
Yeah, the three head honchos of the movie. But, you know, it's one of those things that maybe they have a good reason for it.
Now, here's something you may or may not know. On the very first Matrix, the original casting, okay, they originally wanted to have Will Smith as the role of Neo, but he
I
had,
heard about that,
he had turned it down to make the movie Wild Wild West.
which was an amazing movie as well.
I don't think I've ever. I would have to watch that one. But
It's
imagine that though.
it's a
He
good movie.
he turned that down, and look who got it, Keanu Reeves. And now to this
Hmm.
day, the franchise, there's games, there's stuff. It was a hell
It's
of a
huge.
is huge. Neo, of course, everybody knows is a computer programmer. He was born Thomas A. Anderson, was it Thomas? And yeah,
Mm,
Thomas Anderson, who operates as a hacker named Neo. That's what it was. He was an actual. That's what he was doing.
yeah.
He described his character as someone who felt that something was wrong and was searching for Morpheus and the truth to break free. Which is really funny. The reason why Will Smith also turned it on because he's skepticism over the film's ambitious. There we go again with destroying the words today. The ambitious bullet time special effects. He later stated he was, quote, not mature enough as an actor at the time. And if he had been given the
Yeah.
role, he would have messed it up.
I mean, if you think about it, this was back when he was doing like stuff like Fresh Prince still.
Yeah, that's true. That's
The
very true.
original Matrix was in 99. He was still pretty young.
Yeah, that's true.
And, Will Smith was known as, the Fresh Prince. He was silly. He was kind of not put together and refined like he is now because
Right.
he was still just a kid. He was probably in his early 20s.
Hmm.
So he I'm honestly I'm glad he skipped on the movie because I knowing the Matrix and seeing the Matrix as much as I have,
Hmm.
I cannot wrap my mind around it being Will Smith.
Mm. Yeah, yeah. I mean, I could see it, but it just seemed Keanu Reeves, of course, he was doing the Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure and stuff like that. So it seemed kind of fitting
Mm,
for me, honestly,
yeah.
for that. You know who else turned down the roles was Nicolas Cage. He had family obligations. That's why he turned it down. So Warner Brothers decides, they said, okay, let's look for Brad Pitt or maybe Val Kilmer for the roles.
Okay, see, I could see Val Kilmer
I could too. I
as
absolutely.
Neo.
He just has that face. He has that
He's
putty
got the
face.
face. He's an amazing actor. He's done so many different movies. He's played Jim Morrison in The Doors. He's played Batman. He's played Doc Holliday in Tombstone. He's got the range
Hmm.
of movies to be able to do The Matrix and make it look good.
He was in Willow, and I believe he was also in Top Gun
Yes.
too.
Yep.
So here's even more fun facts. When both declined, Leonardo DiCaprio had said yes to the role, but after a few meetings, he turned down the role because, quote, he did not want to do a visual effect movie directly after the Titanic.
That's understandable.
Mm.
But I don't, again, I can't see Leonardo DiCaprio playing Neo. He just doesn't fit. Seeing
he
him in the Titanic, he was tiny, you know,
right.
still looked really young. Like, he still looked like a teenager back then.
Yeah, yeah, he did.
Whereas, Keanu Reeves looked a little bit more older and distinguished.
Mm. So then from there, the studio pushed for Reeves, who won the role over Johnny Depp, which was the first choice, the Wachowski's first choice. They wanted Johnny Depp to do it, but
I
instead they
mean,
pushed for Reeves.
as much as I love Johnny Depp, I couldn't see him as Neo either.
or Willy Wonka for that matter. But hey, guess
I mean,
what?
that's the Tim version or
Yeah,
Tim Burton
Tim
version.
Burton's. Yeah,
So,
that's true. I
Tim
don't,
Burton's wild and out there as well.
I, deep the oh god, Sweeney Todd though it kind of ruined it for me with Johnny
That was
Depp there.
I'm sorry. I love that movie. That movie was amazing.
That movie is gruesome as hell.
It's a musical about a barber
Who's
who's
basically a killer.
he's trying to get back at the dude for kidnapping his daughter, and he thought he killed his wife.
Oh man.
It's a good movie, and it's a great musical.
Ugh. You have Carrie Ann Moss, of course. She was Trinity, a human freed by Morpheus, which is a really cool thing. Agent Smith, Hugo Weaving. Now, these are just people who were in the very first one, and you don't see many of these people's. You don't see these people's names in it and everything like that. But it's funny because the Wachowskis presented the script for the film Assassins to Warner Brothers in 1994. In the first movie they directed, Bound, they became a critical success using their momentum. They later asked to direct The Matrix. So that's how they stepped front into the production of that. Now, I don't know if they had not. The Wachowskis, of course, Lena, who was formerly known as Larry Wachowski, and Lily, who was known as Andy, are the American film and television directors, writers, and producers. The sisters are both trans women. So they did a lot of stuff. The Matrix, of course, the franchise. I think they did for V for Vendetta too, if I'm not mistaken.
I believe they did.
Hmm. Mm-mm-mm. Yeah, I think they did. So in January of 2021 of this year, the Twitter account posted a video with an updated logo for the film that consistently solely of the word Matrix, just instead of the word or the title The Matrix 4. So the Matrix, so instead of The Matrix or whatever it is, or how they first labeled the very first one, The Matrix, the Bears. Now they're thinking that it could possibly be just named Matrix. That would be like the finale of it, of all of them, you know. But I don't know. I don't know.
I'm not sure, but in response to the leak of the film's final title,
Mm-hmm.
you know, they told Screen Rant that the film was officially untitled because so many people were putting that out there that oh it's going to be named the Matrix and this and that,
Right.
but they told them no, that was just us hyping people up for another one. It's still officially untitled.
So do you think they're gonna come up with a? I mean, they only have a few. It's probably one of those ones that's not rated yet either. Because you ever see that with movies nowadays, even cartoon movies and movies that are animated, they come up now. They're like, this movie has not yet been rated. Like, holy shit! It comes out in like a month. How is this not quote unquote rated yet? So I'm assuming this is going to be R rated. Of course, there's probably going to be like a ton of visual effects that are. Do you think
Oh,
the
more than likely, yeah.
and now the technology has jumped tenfold since 1996, I believe it was the very first Matrix. Can you imagine what they're going to be doing in the Matrix 1999? Do you think they're going to how do you think the visual effects are going to be now? It's going to be dramatically different. I mean, it might have some of the old school in it, but I think this one probably will have a shit ton of bullet time drops and different visual effects and stuff. I know Keanu Reeves, from what I had read too, he loves doing his own stunts, or at least he knows, like on bikes, on particular motorcycle bikes. He likes to do his own his stunts.
Yeah.
From what I had read, which I don't know
So
why, but
so I just found out, it is going to be rated R
okay.
because, it's going to be rated R because it's going to have the violence and stuff. But it says that anyone and up
Hmm.
should be able to handle it without any problem.
Hmm.
But it's gonna be R-rated because of the violence and stuff in the movie, which it's a Matrix movie.
Right.
It's something you're going to expect.
Well, yeah, because of not only I mean, like I said before, you could say the word "damn" and all of a sudden it just drops it from
Yeah.
a G to a PG-13. Just because you said one word, which to me is kind of weird. They were talking about a prequel film about a young Morpheus, or a sequel film from the descendants of his. So that's what they thought about. They were talking about doing a reboot for the established universe that was fully explored, but reportedly a prequel film about a young Morpheus, or sequel of his, in 2018. So you imagine that, like a lot of these movies nowadays, like Star Wars, you've gone so far into the future. Now we have to go backwards. And we talked about this
Mhm.
before on an earlier show, where in regards to, is a sequel a good thing, or is a prequel a good thing? Is it, is it going backwards better in time, more of a, is that a plot
Is it
twist?
is it easier to take us back in time as opposed to pushing us forward in time?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Because if you go back in time, you already know what everything looked like, how everything was, how it played out. If you go forward, that's completely new concept
Right. It
because
is.
you don't know what's going to happen in the future. Like if you a good example of that is, Back to the Future.
Right.
The second one where they go forward to what was it? 2010, 2012,
Mm-hmm.
and it looked nothing like that. It was nowhere near what they had ideas for in the movie.
Isn't that wild how yeah, they do stuff like that?
It was really out there, and at the time of that releasing, a lot of people thought, "Hey, that's what it's gonna look like." And then come to that time, and it's like, "Oh, it's not any different than it was back then."
Mm.
It's kinda like getting people's hopes up in a way, in my opinion.
Right. In January of last year, Arendra Ibarra was cast with Priyanka Chopra, entering final negotiations to be in this new Matrix, the fourth, or the quote unquote unknown, what is called Project Ice Cream. The same with Lambert Wilson, who played the Merovingian in the sequel. Sorry, I said that backwards 3 times. Revealed he was in negotiations as well to return. Hugo Weaving, who was I think it was Agent Smith, was originally approached to reprise his
Mhm.
role, but he had scheduling conflicts with his involvement in Tony Kushner's theatrical adaptation of The Visit, which is kind of interesting. Lawrence Fishburne later announced he was not asked to reprise his role as Morpheus.
He wasn't even asked,
Now
which is
that
sad.
that kind of reminds me of, like, you remember, what was it, Beverly Hills 90210, or was it Saved by the Bell, the next installment of that one? There was where one of the members was not asked to return.
I believe it was Saved by the Bell. I think it was,
Screech, wasn't it?
Screech, yeah, I almost got his name wrong, I almost said Skeeter. Yeah,
Diamond.
it was Screech. Dustin Diamond.
Dustin Diamond, that's who it was. Which
He was not
is
asked to return because he got in trouble with the law.
which I think is kind of stupid. I mean, you have all these football players who get in trouble all the time with the law, but yeah,
Mhm.
and rappers, but that's a whole different ballgame, that can apparently smoke and be high as a kite on national television, and that's just okay because he's an animal on 4 legs. But that's besides the
Yep.
point, which is kind of weird. They would the dates of the let's see. The Fishburne later announced he was not going to be Morpheus. I wonder who's going to fill his cast. Who's filling? Who's going to be? Is it nobody's going to be Morpheus? I mean, come on, Morpheus is in
No,
like
they
all
don't
of them.
they they do not have Morpheus written
Who's
in
typecasted
right
out?
now.
Oh shit. Well, that's horrible.
Exactly. And the only one that can tell us why,
Hmm.
and I'm pretty sure once people actually see, Morpheus isn't in it, they're gonna ask the big question to Lana Wachowski. Why did you not put Morpheus in the movie? Because he is a huge part of the
He's a
Matrix
major part of it.
series.
Yeah. That doesn't quite make sense to me. Of course, I am not the the producers. Maybe he just
Exactly. Maybe they have a good reason,
right.
but
They possibly do, and we just don't realize it because we're petty people, and they'll never tell us.
yep, exactly.
So they had the Matrix Reloaded, and Matrix Revolution. So, which is really weird. March 31st was the first, as we mentioned, first of the series came out. Written by the Wachowskis. So they wrote three out of the four, except for now Lena Wachowski wrote the
Hmm.
fourth one,
Hmm.
but also to Alexander Hemmon and of course David Mitchell. But it was also produced by Lena Wachowski as well too, and Grant Hill. So it's post production, in production. They're just finalizing, zipping it up, tying it up, whatever the case it is. The Matrix Reloaded, that was in 2003, May 15th. We're going back almost 18 years ago. Actually, it is past 18 years.
Oh my god. I hate thinking about how old these movies actually are.
And The Matrix Revolutions, that was in 2003. So two movies came out back to back almost simultaneously, just within months of each other. Just 5 months, under 5 months. Which doesn't make sense. I
They
wonder.
must have had a seriously busy schedule to be,
I mean,
back to back like that.
it's weird. I wonder why.
I mean, I'm pretty sure they messed up a few times thinking they were doing the opposite movie and
Yeah,
had to go back and refilm some shit.
they must have, or they. Here's my thought: The Matrix Reloaded had so much story material that they couldn't do anything with it, so they had to trim it off because it didn't fit the flow of a storyline. Because that's a key thing in a movie. They don't film. A lot of people think that a movie starts in the beginning, like how you see it on film. It's not true at all. They film it in different orders, not only to
Yeah, it's
confuse
never start to finish.
the producers, the directors do this purposely to confuse the actors as well as the how it's just the timing of everything. So say like the producer Billy Bob is there to produce this part for like a week, and then he's not there next week, so this other part of the movie has to be filmed with this other person. So it
Hmm.
kind of makes sense, but they do that purposely so that way, as one actor, professional actor said, she said, quote, you never know when the ending is done until the movie is wrapped up because they don't know.
Yep,
The very first day could be the very end of the movie, and they just don't know it because it doesn't start off as telling them this is how the beginning is, this is the middle, the end.
exactly. They
So
don't know until they see the movie as well.
right. So my thoughts is they had enough material from the Matrix Reloaded, okay, and they're like, you know what, we have all this shit we can do, so let's make Revolution. So we have everything filmed in a can. Now let's just make this into another movie. That's my thoughts. Because, I mean, 4 months later, I mean, holy shit.
Yeah.
I mean, you go from 1999, and that's 5 year spread. Sorry, 4 year spread. So so the Matrix 1999, 2003, there's a 4 year spread of time to produce this next one. So why wait for so long, And then you have 2003, that same fall, you have Matrix Revolutions come out, which is kind of makes sense. Now they waited
Yeah.
18 years later for this one, the untitled fourth Matrix film. Do you imagine that? It took 18 years, almost 18 years to the day of when they throw it out.
It's nuts.
It is nuts. It's completely nuts, but that's a lot of time. It was just like how we were talking the other last time on the show. We were discussing how Space Jam, Gen X, Gen Ys know that movie. But then now the Gen Zs and don't know what they call them after Gen Z. Go back to A, I guess. But those people,
Gen Alpha, I don't know.
they don't know as much as we do in regards to, you know,
Exactly.
the original. Now, are the people who are seeing this movie going to go back to the first one to watch the very first episode or first movie and then go in sequential order? That's what I did with like big movies. You know,
Oh yeah.
I
I like to go back and watch number 1, 2, 3, and then the new one.
in a sequential order, right? See, that's what I did. That's what I did with Star Wars. Although I saw them all in out of order, but then one day I'm like, okay, I'm going to sit down. I'm going to watch these in order. So I did. So the prequels that then turn into the normal ones and then the future ones. So, we started low and
Yeah.
go back high. Same thing happened with Harry Potter. Harry Potter. We did that too. I watched the first one all the way till the last one, which is kind of.
I think it was not last weekend, but the weekend before.
Mm-hmm.
It took me 3 days because, life and shit. But I sat down and I watched all of the Harry Potter movies
Oh
for
yeah.
the first time start to finish. Because I had not seen past I hadn't seen Half Blood Prince or Deathly Hallows 1 and 2.
Mm-hmm.
So I was like, you know what? I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna sit down and I'm gonna watch them. And I did, and I enjoyed every minute of it.
See, that's the thing. If you can sit down and enjoy it, that's what makes it. That's what makes or breaks a movie, even a franchise and stuff. With the Revolutions, that was the third installment. That was the last teaser of a movie we knew of. We thought that was it. That was it. We thought, okay, this is it. The box office, it grossed $139 million in North America. And worldwide, it made supposedly it's $427 million. Hoo-wee. Half of the Matrix, so roughly half of the Matrix Reloaded box office totals in its first 5 days of release. The film grossed $83.8 million in the US and Canada from 3,502 theaters. So that was just in a 5-day spread. They had already made $83.8 million, but it dropped significantly, 66% during the second week, which is wow, that's a hell of a drop.
Yep, it really is.
In the first 5 days in internationals, it grossed $119 million, which is 107 territories, 10,013 movie prints, basically. In other words, how many reels were sent out to those movie theaters? 107 territories. That's quite a lot if you think about it internationally. Third biggest opening ever in Japan and Spain, and the fourth biggest in the UK, Italy, and Mexico. And combined, it grossed over $203 million in its first 5 days. Holy shit! So there you go. There's like the people are just like, wow, like they know what they want. So
Exactly.
I guess if I'm kicking around 427 million,
I mean, it's a
oh,
lot of money.
what's 110 to 150 million just to make the movie? Sure, I could do all that. What the hell? I'll get the biggest actors I know: Keanu Reeves, Lawrence Fishburne.
We've worked with them for years. Let's
Yeah,
pop them back
exactly.
in.
See, that's the thing too. Like once you get a cast like this, once you get a cast that works, they usually try to put them back together in it. Not only because of the fluidity of the movie itself, like, oh yeah, I remember this. Carrie Ann Moss was Trinity. I remember she was played this. This actress played this Trinity. But then if you Morpheus, if you pick a person who is like a very important person it's like, well, who's going to replace him?
How are you planning to kill him off?
Exactly.
That's the big question in my mind because they don't have him in the movie at all. How are they going to? Are they going to use scenes from a previous Matrix and kill him off, or CGI?
Right. That's a good
How
question.
how you going to do that?
That's a good point. Maybe just throwing it out there just to see if it sticks. What if they do kind of like how they did with from Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventures, and I think he was in this movie as well too. The late actor, the oh gosh, what was his name? He had died, but they made a hologram of him.
Oh,
The late George Carlin.
yeah, that one.
So they made George Carlin, and wasn't he part of this too? Wasn't he in The Matrix, or am I just thinking of?
I'm not sure.
Maybe he wasn't in The Matrix. I thought he was in the first one, but I
Maybe they're gonna do like they did with Star Wars after Carrie Fisher passed away.
oh make a visual. Yeah, it's a possibility.
I
Interesting.
mean,
I mean, they probably reuse some lines too, voicing.
but that's the problem though. He's not dead. Why is he not in the movie?
Oh, Morpheus. Oh yeah, it makes
Yeah,
you Lawrence
he
Fishburne.
didn't die. He's still alive.
That's true.
Why are you pushing him out of the franchise that he helped build?
You had Tank. You had Niobe. That was Harold Peroni. I can't think of. I can't pronounce his name. They're all in the things. Yeah, it makes you wonder why the hell isn't he in it. I don't know. It doesn't make sense to me now. I think about it more and more. It's like he's obviously he's a big person, big part of the movie.
I think it's time to take this question to Twitter.
That is a good thought. It was edited by Zack Steinberg, obviously for the third installment. It was music was by Don Davis. Production was Village Roadshow Pictures. I think that's the same ones that are doing. Yes, they are the production company that are doing the fourth as well. So there's a lot of similarities. Is Don doing the music? Survey says unknown. He does. It's unknown if that person is or not. Matrix Revolutions again, with Fishburne, Keanu Reeves. Cinematography was Bill Pope. They have John Toll coming in with this one for cinematography. So there's different people who are doing obviously doing the filming of it, but it's going to be interesting to see how this is going to relate to how they're going to tie it in. Are they going to tie it in? You don't see anything. You don't really know of anything.
Exactly.
There's no storyline, that even a tease that they can give us. I guess it's.
The only tease we got was that it was initially set to release alongside John Wick number 4 back in May, but then that it was postponed to April 1st of 2022.
Oh wow.
But then in October of 2020 it was pushed up to December 22nd, 2021, which is the final date that we have heard. But another plus, the film will be released in theaters, but will also simultaneously release on HBO Max for a
Okay.
month.
So this will also have streaming options because of the COVID, so people are be able to watch that if they're not comfortable inside the movie theaters.
I think it's HBO Max and Warner Brothers are doing some kind of collab because it says that it's going to simultaneously be released on HBO streaming service for 1 month as part of a Warner Brothers Pictures plans for all of the Warner Brothers Pictures in 2021.
Does this have Bugs Bunny's stamp of approval?
I guess so.
Well, that's interesting. Now, okay, so is HBO owned by Warner Brothers or vice versa? I would assume
don't
that
have any idea.
maybe they're an umbrella corporation. In other words, it means that
Possibly.
you have Warner Brothers as the big umbrella, and then underneath it, who are being protected underneath it, would be like HBO or stuff like kind of like how Disney owns pretty much everything under the sun nowadays. But
yeah.
So they have a John Wick Chapter 4 that was supposed to premiere alongside it, as you mentioned, May 21st of this year was supposed to pop out, which would have like coincided with John Wick Chapter 4. But do you really need two movies of the same person coming out at the same time? Like, oh,
No, not really, especially when they're both like action movies.
and yeah, they have similarities to them. They have the same person in it. Lawrence Fishburne was in that one. Uh, I mean, come on. Do you really need that? I don't know. Filming
No,
for
I
that
don't.
one began on June 28th, 2021. So they just started that. So I guess they were, I guess because it was revealed to have begun his training course for John Wick and Matrix 4. So yeah, he's like one of those guys that just can't sit down either. He kind of
Yeah.
reminds me of Gordon Ramsay in a sense, who's constantly
Mm-hmm.
working and filming. I mean,
Constantly doing something.
bless their hearts for doing such their work schedules must be crazy. I mean, unless you're, the bigger you are, the less work you have to do. Isn't that how that goes? The bigger you are, the less you do.
I I guess not in Keanu Reeves' case.
I guess not. I mean, the guy, like I said, he likes to do his own action sequences. I remember
Yeah,
him talking about
he
that.
likes to do his own stunts.
I would feel uncomfortable if I had the A model or a triple A artist, I guess you could
Mm-hmm.
say. I had a triple A artist who's in my movie. I would feel
Who's worth
really
millions?
who's worth millions, who's signed on a dot, and his lawyers are probably staring at me through golden titanium glasses,
Yep,
and to make sure that nothing happens to their baby bird in
their
the
big
nest.
star.
So for him to do that, I'm sure he had to cut like the insurances, and because
Mm-hmm.
they're all covered under this huge. They have to be. They fucking have to be.
Oh yeah,
I mean, I couldn't imagine sitting there going to work every day and sitting there not having insurance, especially when it comes to action stuff like this,
yeah.
and all the fall
Doing
guys.
those dangerous stunts and
Yeah, yeah, all the
all
fall
that
guys and stuff
stuff.
that do their work. All the stunt actors and stuff like that. I couldn't do it. Those are the unsung heroes as well too.
Mm-hmm.
So it started production in San Fran, also in Germany and Chicago. That's just really weird how they have a widespread like that, but that's just how it is.
They also filmed in Berlin.
I've never been to Berlin.
When they started in August of 2020, they resumed filming in Berlin.
Hmm.
So they are all over the world with this one.
I'm curious to know okay, what the budget for this movie is going to be, because obviously the more popular the A-lister is, the more money they're going to be seeking, and that's part of it too. That pays a lot of how much the movie is worth, and budget wise. Are they paying this person $30 million? There's half the budget, so now I have only $30 million to play with. So
I mean, if you think about it, the just to film in San Francisco, the producers had to pay $420,000 to the police department
ooh wee.
because the filming caused irritation to the residents and city workers after the damage was inflicted to the buildings and streetlights. But there was no second unit needed during those sequences in San Francisco because Lana Wachowski directed all of the scenes herself. And she didn't have to have a second crew come in. So she didn't have that 420,000 was not that big a deal because she
Ooh.
didn't have to pay another unit to come in and work on the scenes in San Francisco.
That's a big chunk, but I guess like if you had to, I guess I would cover the expense of the police officers, the time that they had to put into protecting the surrounding areas they're filming, plus all the
Shutting
damages as you
places
mentioned.
down, the damage, keeping the the scenes where they're at wrapped under control away
Hmm.
from the general public.
Right. The other two things we never mentioned either, real fast before the top of the hour here. When we take our break, we'll come back for our third and final hour on here on the Megabyte podcast. The direct to videos, The Matrix Revisited, and the Animatrix. As an adult animated science fiction anthology film produced by the Wachowskis. So the same people who directed it
Mhm.
and produced it. Short films based on the Matrix film series, which was written and produced by the Wachowskis for the shorts. So they had 9 animated short films. That was in
Yep.
2003. So that went direct to video.
Mhm.
Same as the Matrix Revisited as well too. So
I
I
forget where I watched those at. I know it was at a friend's house, but like I'm talking website or DVD. But I remember watching some of it, and it was really good. And it had Keanu Reeves and Carrie Ann Moss as Neo and Trinity.
Mm-mm-mm. All right, it's the top of the hour. Let's get back into it. After our break. We will return in Grand Theft Auto 5. GTA 5 is the topic of the third hour. I am your co-host, Squeamish Cactus, alongside with Bunny Fufu. We'll be right back after these messages. Alrighty, guys, we are back in the third hour of the Megabyte podcast. I am here with you. I am Squeamish Cactus, alongside with Bunny Fufu. We're going to be discussing the new, well, it's kind of new in this year, but with an old game, GTA 5 with RP. You want to explain a little bit about that?
Okay. Obviously, GTA 5 has been around for a few years. It came out in 2013. Over those years, you know, you started getting into the online servers and stuff, and people decided, how can we make online different? So they decided, let's do online role playing. So they set up a private server
Mm-hmm.
and started inviting their friends and stuff to role play. And from there, it just like blew up, especially recently, because a lot of people lately have been doing nothing but RP on
Mm-hmm.
GTA 5.
Right, which is giving the basically a new life to the NPCs or non-playable characters that are inside the game itself. But here you are now as one of the people who are running around. So you're kind of, instead of being, say, myself, Squeamish Cactus, being in the game as that person, now I'm role playing a new person or a new background, if you will. Now I could be John Fudge instead of Squeamish Cactus, but I have a backstory, and I also play with other players who are on a specific site that is infused into the GTA world, so that way it's more private for them. It's called No Pixel. There's a community, it's huge community, which is amazing. Now, as you mentioned, it started back in 2013, GTA 5. I'm
Hmm.
not sure who and where, how it all started. I guess it was developed by Coil and many other developers and contributors. That's where No Pixels came around. Is
Hmm.
running a third-party multiplayer server system. It's called 5M. I have it, but I have to figure out how to install it. I'm not too familiar with the. It's kind of hard. It's kind of complicated. Maybe you can walk me down the steps with it later down the road.
Yes.
So this means that you are proceeding inside the as a character you are playing. So if I were to use my character, John Nesquick, as an example, that's an old guy who talks like this, there, Miss Bunny Foo Foo.
Yes,
I
sir.
would
I've heard
then
it before.
I would then have that character that I would play into the No Pixel official website. Then inside there, I would also use any action that was taken while in game is taken on behalf of that character. So in other words, I wouldn't play as Cactus, I would play as John Nesquick. So I would do the RP, aka role play, for an extended amount of time, whatever it is, for my community or even off channel. Even if
Yep.
I wasn't live, I could still go
Yep.
inside this and do this, which is really cool. So basically, the whole purpose of it is to create an immersive experience where players like ourselves and or the viewers alike can experience stories and situations which basically I would assume is like another world. So you're just it's like a whole like a dream world. Now I don't know if
Yes.
you would.
It's as someone who has role played for most of my life, It's taking yourself out of the equation in a sense. You can choose to roleplay as yourself, but you know, different aspects. Or you can be someone completely different.
Can I be this guy?
You could be that guy, you could be,
Can I be
you
this
know,
guy over here? Come here. Sit over here real quick.
yes, you can do all of that.
How about this one
You
too?
can be a squeaky little crying kid if you wanted.
What if I wanted to be a demonic son of a bitch?
You could.
I sound like
Be
a
an elf.
wrestler from the 80s. Arr.
Yeah, the only thing that coming into my mind was Hulk Hogan for a minute there. But
That's right, brother.
you can literally be whoever it is you want to be. Whether you want to be someone that's real, whether you want to be someone who's fictional, made up,
Right.
a character in your favorite video game, your favorite TV show, you can do that.
Right, right.
And you can step like the way I look at it is when it comes to role playing, you step away from life. You
Absolutely.
you step away from the problems you're having at home, at work. You step away from everything and you're in a whole different sense of
Jet.
yourself.
Right. And that's what makes it so entertaining is when you can take yourself you transport yourself out from the current reality, of course, obviously because of things that are happening in the real world as we speak. But if you were able to transport yourself out of there and plunk yourself back into a world that is developed or a fantasy in a sense, that's where it comes from. That's where the love of it. It's just like with Comic-Con or any kind of cons there is too, right?
TwitchCon, MegaCon, Comic-Con,
There's
all
a
of
ton of
those
them.
that get you out of being yourself
Right.
in a way.
And that's what makes it unique because you could be anybody you wish to be. No matter who it is, no matter who you are, your gender or anything in between. You could be anything and everything. Hell, you could be a talking tree if you really wanted to.
Yeah, you can, depending on your role play platform.
Right.
Of course, with GTA 5, you can't be a tree, but you can you can create your own character. You can give a backstory for your character. So if you're a good storyteller, role playing is great.
I'm really good at it.
And then, you can find a job, you can buy a house.
Mm-hmm.
You can do all the stuff you can do in GTA online, but with the role playing, you actually like people have become cops or lawyers or criminals
Right.
or this or that. So it's really just the only limit is your own mind.
And well said. And that's I agree with you on that. You could be anything and everything you want to be. And a game this massive, and I'm surprised they haven't, unless I am not aware of. I'm surprised they haven't done this yet with Red Dead Redemption because it is obviously by Rockstar, same people. Why not do a cowboy themed or cowgirl themed version of RP?
I would love that.
That's an idea. That there you go, ladies and gentlemen. There's your $1 billion idea. It was first thought of by me, yours truly.
Make sure you cut us in.
Cut us in. I'll take 20%. The rest you can have. 20% on sales, 20% on everything else. That's perfect. The game came out. Now this is interesting. Now listen to this. Grand Theft Auto came out in 2013. I believe you mentioned that. It was extensively marketed and widely anticipated. Now this is crazy and amazing. Are you ready for this? The game broke industry sales records. It was the fastest selling entertainment product in history. It earned, I hope you're sitting. Are you sitting down?
Absolutely.
Are you firmly planted in that chair?
Yes, sir.
The entertaining game GTA 5 earned $800 million in its first day.
Woo! That's a
800
big chunk.
$800 million in its first day. And are you ready for this number? In the
Oh,
first 3 days of installment, once it popped out, it went to $1 billion.
Jesus.
It is because of the multiple protagonist design, open world presentation, and gameplay. You could be a player that could do third person, first person perspectives. The world is navigated around you by your either walking, running, or by vehicle. There's 3 protagonists, of course, the single player. You could also go online, as we all know, as we're talking about. There's a story that is centered around the high sequences. There's missions involving shooting. For those who don't know what the game is about, that's what it's about. There's a wanted system, the aggression, the law enforcement response to players who commit crimes. Up to 30 players can engage in a variety of different co-op and competitive game modes. Now, as a player of GTA, in fact, we'll probably be hopping into that later.
Yes, sir.
I am 99% convinced. There is,
I'm down for it.
you think about all the modes, all the different things you can do. You can play. There's different things you can have your friends play just with each other on there. You can make your own little world, if you will. So you're online, but you're not, in a sense, to where the general public GP are not involved in it, but just you and whoever it is. Then you have the invite only, where I said, okay, I could trust Miss Buddy Foo. She could pop into my channel anytime. She can come in there and she can hang out with me inside there. So I could see that. Then you have the online communities, which becomes toxic.
Yes, if you're gonna play GTA 5 online, please understand you're not in there with friends. They will do anything and everything to destroy what you are trying to do. If you're trying to start up a business and you have to go get supplies, they will try to destroy it because they get RP points and they get cash for doing so. So, if you are not faint of heart, GTA Online is a very toxic place. Sometimes you get into a server where people aren't as toxic, but you don't know until you try and do something.
That is true. It's a hit or miss. But nowadays, it seems now, even some of the videos I have watched to better educate myself, I guess, on how people get into these servers, how people do what they do to exploit these bullshit things that they can do. They can download. So here's basically what they're doing. They're downloading an app. And the app is like, it gives you a God mode. There's the mode where it shoots like electricity charge where all the cars spread across, like I guess like the Hulk or whatever it is, or explosions. You can cage people. You can do various different things. They could be invisible. So the name that they come into your server could not is 99% of the time not even their real name of the person. So say John Apple comes into your server, is a known hacker, or they hack. They have an app like this. They come in as Johnny Appleseed, but they later come in, but their real name is like Banana Bob. So that you will never know who that you can report that person's name, but it's not the person. They can make up any name they want to. But it's still, the funny thing is, even though these hackers and exploiters, they still feel that they're immune to things. It's not necessarily the name that they look for. It is the tag, the ID number. Because every time you say, for example, you have a server 12345, there's Bunny that came in. So she's T35. Cactus comes in, he's T32. So now I know that if somebody reports this person, I can go back into the server 12345 and look up TC324, which whatever I said I was, Cactus, and say, okay, that person is the culprit, and then they can ban you from that way. So you can sit there and call yourself eeny, meeny, miny, mo for all they care. They don't care about your screen name. It is the tag number that's behind you. I learned
Mhm.
this. This is why people don't understand. Oh man, how did I get caught? How did I get banned? Because everything is numbers. Everything. You're a number. You're like we're like cattle in a sense online. You are tagged as soon as you walk into a server. All those servers have different numbers and sequences. Don't believe me? Look at Battlefield 1. You go into the area where you can go into specific lobbies or specific servers to join in. They're all a bunch of numbers. A lot of them are. They have weird numbers to them. That's what it is. They're numbered. We don't know the numbers because all we know is we, just jump in online and friends want to come in, boom, that's it. But to protect themselves, that's what they do. They have numbered servers. So they have a specific amount. Say if there's nobody in this server, then it closes down or goes into hibernation until somebody jumps into that server, then it lights up again. Then it's on the list of servers that are currently up. So if you have 30 people in this lobby, then the next 20 that are trying to get into that 30 lobby automatically get booted into another server. We don't know the combinations, but Rockstar does. The producers, the designers of these people, they do know it. And that's what makes it so funny. They, of course, the original, there's the soundtrack too. The original scores were composed by a team of producers over several years. It took several years for them to collab on this stuff.
Mhm.
And as we talked on a episode prior to this one, in regards to DMCA and stuff, there's no way we can play any of that music that they have.
Oh God,
I
no.
want to because I miss some of the audio. I miss some of those soundtracks because there are a few things on those radio stations I like, the rock stations, but we can't,
Oh yes.
you
Since my computer has been out of commission, I've been enjoying the GTA 5 soundtrack a little bit too much.
know.
But as soon as I get that fixed, it's back to mute.
They say that this is considered one of the seventh and eighth generation console gaming's most significant titles and is among the best video games ever made. Think about that for a second. It has won two accolades, including Game of the Year and several gaming publications as well too. Is the second best-selling video game of all time. Think about that. The best-selling video game that outbeats or is beaten, believe it or not, is a game you and I have played before.
Hmm.
Do you know what it is? Just the top of your head.
That we've played together before?
We have, yes, it is the most best-selling video game to date. It's a sandbox kind of game. We just fairly played it recently within the last couple months ago, 2 months ago or so. I believe you played it with me. I know Roleplay's played it with me. It's a game that is pixelated.
Minecraft.
There you go. That's crazy.
Yep.
So
That
that
is
one.
crazy.
So worldwide right now, the revenue for this game is $6 billion. That's with a B. $1 billion. The engine for it is Rage, Rock's advanced game engine. Is a which is from the Rockstar makers, actually, I believe it is. Which is really cool. So basically, the game is going to we're talking GTA 6 down the line, but for now, people thought, well, this maybe they're doing all this RP because of the fact that GTA 6 was supposed to come out this year and it was put on hold.
It's a good possibility. I mean, it gives people like a new, fresh perspective as where, we would have got that with GTA 6.
Right.
But since that's been pushed back, RP has become a major thing. And I know you and I both are trying to break into the RP world.
Right.
And it's become like super popular amongst a lot of big streamers as well as the smaller streamers.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. You think if you were to go into the category right now on Twitch, you'd probably most likely find a bunch of people who would like to do RP on this game. This game,
Right.
and that's what makes it so interesting, especially with a game like this. Okay.
I mean, you have to stop and think. This game has been out for years, and we've been waiting for another GTA game. And that, due to COVID and circumstances and stuff, that's being pushed back again, just
Right.
like a lot of games.
Hmm.
So, the in their mind, they're probably thinking, "What can we do different so we don't get burnt out on this game? What can we do to make it more lively again until the next GTA comes out? What can be different?"
Right. Right.
And that's where RP comes in. RP, like I said earlier, takes you out of your everyday life and throws you into something completely different.
It
It's
does.
more than just playing a game. It's playing a game and practically living a second life. Because you go into the RP, one, you're going to make friends because the RP servers are not toxic
Right.
because they have rules.
Hmm.
Most
Oh
of the
yeah.
time, they are very strict
Oh yeah.
rules. You're not allowed to break character. So you meet someone in the RP server that becomes friends with your character. You can talk to them on Discord, or you can do this or do that and connect with them outside of RP, and you make friends that way.
Right.
You can become friends with God only knows who is behind the RP character.
There's a bunch of people who are either, I mean, there's even some famous actors, and I'm sure some VO people, voice
Oh yeah.
people who do voice acting and stuff and voiceovers that are probably like, ooh, I could do this stuff.
Yeah. Be
Because
someone completely different. You don't have to tell them who you really are.
right,
So
and
I feel like for like the bigger names and like maybe celebrities and stuff, that would
mhm,
be great because you get to connect with new people and you don't it's not they're not trying to impress you.
right.
They're not trying to get on your good side because you're a well-known name. They're trying to get to know you for you or for your character.
And what's cool about it too is you can feed off of everybody. You generally, as a rule of thumb, like when I would do RP or if I do voice acting or if I do anything like even a podcast, you feed off each other's vibes, you feed off each other's words. Sometimes I step over on people's toes when they're talking, but it's you learn, you can feel it when you start to get that engagement with people. And I think that's another good thing too. That would be like an interesting experience if I do decide to jump onto No Pixels community, which I think you and I have discussed, and I think we're in agreement that we most
Yes.
likely are going to.
Yes.
I have no problem with the backstory of a character. I already have a character named and designed. I could do it. I just gotta have plenty of water, maybe some
Mhm.
some tea or something to soothe my voice after talking for so long on there
Exactly.
to do that kind of voicing. But it'd be kind of interesting because they put you in those protected lobbies of Grand Theft Auto, so
Exactly.
that way
And
you're
that's what I like the most, and that's what draws me in the the most is that the lobbies are not toxic. You're not
right.
allowed to be toxic.
Yeah, they have zero tolerance to anybody who's going in and
Yeah, they've
being
they've got like No Pixel has a public server,
right.
but it's still you've got people watching that server to make sure there's no toxicity.
Hmm. Hmm.
So, you know, you can play and have fun rather
Yes.
than trying to do things and get blown all to hell trying to move cargo and stuff. You can do little, RP missions
Mm-hmm.
and stuff and not have to worry, except for the players that are playing as cops. You have to worry about them. But, you know,
Right.
it's it's always going to be one of those things that it's either a hit or a miss. And I think with RP, it's a big hit.
Right. Now, for example, like if you're going to join in, a lot of people don't know how it works. No pixel, okay? To get into it, if you want to get into like the whitelisted areas, you have to be either big on a streaming page or willing to make a donation and wait. But there's also the public servers for no pixel because the ones that like say the big streamers, like the ones you and I know of, won't mention, but you know who they are. The ones who
Exactly.
stream on there. One wears a hat, can't stand it, but they join these and they're in their own little server. Usually, I think it's the 3.0 version because there's three servers. There's the 1.0, which is the public, the 2.0, 3.0. So if you have stuff like that, obviously you if you can get into those servers, good luck. Maybe it's a word of mouth that says, "Hey, this person's trustworthy; they can join in, etc., etc."
Hmm.
But to join in, you got to download GTA. Of course, everybody has it.
Obviously.
Download the 5M mod. You have to
Which
create.
5M mod is not, when you think mod, you think, someone trying to mess with you and stuff
Right.
like that. It is not like that.
No, not at all.
Nothing like that.
Not at all.
So for those that are like kind of skeptic on downloading a mod server, it's not it's not something that's going to be a problem. It's actually something that can help and actually be a good thing.
Now you can join the public servers, and there's potential you could play with somebody like a big streamer. Like if you know what a character they play as, you could try to see if you can. But obviously you have to be in character yourself. Um,
Exactly.
you could run into it. So create an account with no pixel. Okay, that's easy enough. Connect to the public server. Now, there's the thing that people don't understand or know is it takes a long time. There's a long queue wait. There's a queue, so that could be 20 minutes, could be 5 seconds, it could be an hour. And then you play into the server because there's other people who are wanting to play with you. So you got to figure there's people who are wanting to get into the same server as you, but they only have a
Mhm.
limited amount of space for it.
Exactly. And like, if you were to get into the private server, that in itself is a long process as well.
Right.
Because you have to think, they they take applications
Mm-hmm.
for the private server. It's not just who you know,
Right.
but you actually have to do an application like a job, because they need to know that you're serious about it and
Right.
you're going to follow the rules and you're gonna take the time to do it. And I think that's great because that means they're serious about what they're doing.
Yeah,
And
that's good. Yeah, it kind of keeps you. I mean, if you're going to be serious and playing it, you have to be. They want you to be serious, and if you take it serious, then they're going to take you as serious as well.
exactly.
There's like I said, there are a long queue times. There are a lot of people trying to join in. Sometimes as much as 2,000 plus players are trying to
Hmm.
jump into these.
And I mean, like, with the the private server, not only is it an application, but a lot of the times the people that are donors
Hmm.
and they donate to them, they get moved to the top of the list.
Right.
And it at it's one of those things that they are doing something, they are providing a service.
Hmm. Hmm.
So at at the end of the day, yeah, it's pretty much, it's their their version of a business.
Right.
If they're not necessarily selling you something unless you want to donate. But that also does help your chances of getting in.
Yeah, it's just like with anything. Like, I'll slip you this, and winky winky. Isn't that how most governors and most politicians are? Anyways, like, I'll give you this and everything. Yeah. So the pub server, the advantage and disadvantage. Of course, obviously, the advantage is you can play with people who can't get into the whitelisted servers. So you can basically join in. You can play with other people that love the role playing element, and they don't have the audience that say the whitelisters do, but they're trying to develop their audience. I mean, it's kind of like if somebody who is just breaking into the RP and they have a Twitch account or even a YouTube account or whatever the case it is, they're trying to break it in. Not only are they trying to do some voice acting, voiceovers or VOs or VAs, voice acting, they want to step foot into that direction. This would be the great way. I mean, what way, or what? I mean, in my mind, it would be a great something on the resume. Like, oh well, I was on No Pixel for this amount of time. What is No Pixel? It's a server that you can do your acting, because it is acting. You can put all that onto your resume. I mean, it might help open doors in LA or whatever it is, or New York, or even Chicago, where a lot of the VA.
Wherever you decide to look for a voice acting
Right.
job.
Right. Now, the disadvantage is anybody can join in. There are some, of course, who just stream snipe. Sounds familiar, doesn't it? Or do something stupid, but it's really easy to report the users, and they do get banned fairly quickly.
They get that size 15. They really do.
Right. Now, there's some people too who are big and infamous. Like, for example, if I could think of one person in particular, he's a big person on Twitch. He's one of the biggest, probably the biggest names who will play on the server, on the public servers. He draws, at some points, they say, 90, 100,000 viewers concurrent, which is kind of crazy. Imagine 100,000 people watching you just do this role play.
That's madness.
But he's unable to play on the whitelisted servers. That's really weird. Like, I wonder why they would, I don't know. I don't know how they do that.
I don't know. Maybe they're too big a name.
That's a possibility.
And everyone knows his RP or her RP character.
Right.
And, maybe that's the problem.
I mean,
maybe if you're too big of a name and everybody knows you, it can cause problems. Just the same as if you don't have that big of a name for yourself.
Right. I mean, I guess you would have to make several aliases. You know what I mean? Like, you would have several, I shouldn't say aliases. Well, it would be several characters. Like, I could be John Nesquick on one. Maybe I could be a Prickleberry on another one. So that way, that second alias isn't the same or similar as the first one. So that way, it kind of throws off the stream sniping, throws off the other people that come in, etc., etc. Now, GTA has had over 145 million copies shipped. Now, that was as of that. This is from April 2018. They've had 145 million copies shipped worldwide, which is absolutely crazy. Imagine that, 145 million copies. It started off on the PlayStation 3, which came out in 2006. It started on the Xbox 360. Now, that was in 2013 when those both listed on the Xbox and the PS. In September of 2013, and then, of course, in 2014, PlayStation 4, Xbox One. That's when I guess it's been about 7 years. Xbox One and PlayStation 4 have been around. So that's gonna be crazy. See how long it takes for them, as we mentioned last hour, or the hour before that, the first hour, in regards to how long it's gonna last. On the
Mhm.
2015, it came out as for the Microsoft Windows, PlayStation 5, and the Xbox Series. So wait a minute, the Xbox Series are scheduled to release in November. So PlayStation 5, Xbox Series XS versions are scheduled for release this fall, release at fourth quarter. So that's kind of interesting. So what's going to be the difference? Are they going to throw RTX on it? Is there going to be obviously Microsoft Windows? There's already ray tracing and stuff like
Mhm.
this. So I'm wondering what's going to make it better. What the hell makes the Xbox? Excuse me. What makes that bigger and better? That was released on November 10th, 2020, by the way, for the Xbox Series. But I'm wondering why. Okay, so it came out for the Xbox Series X, and they're waiting for a full year. Hmm, that's really weird. The thing about with GTA though, remember the pluses and minuses. It's for me honestly, I love the game. The game is great. The music scoring is pretty good. The overall graphics are really good. The quality of the game is good. It definitely has longevity of it.
Yeah, it even for online, it's not super laggy.
Right.
It's not like even if you're in like a public server, it's not super laggy. You've got your trolls and stuff, but
Mhm.
you got good graphics. Me personally, I prefer it on the PC because it's easier for me
Mhm.
to with when it comes to shooting and doing missions and stuff. And I feel like they did an amazing job with this game
Mhm.
because if you think about the previous GTAs, you your graphics for the time they were okay, but they weren't that great. The
Right.
graphics on this game are amazing. And that's why like I'm excited for GTA 6 because graphics have improved a lot since this came out.
Now the very first one. Okay, if you want to go all the way back to old school, which began Lord, that came back in like 2001. That was on the planet.
PlayStation 2 times.
That was even yeah. It was on the Android, Dreamcast, Fire OS, Game Boy Advance, Game Boy Color. I didn't even realize. Honestly, I didn't realize there was an Android or Apple phones back then, but I guess there was. Mac, Microsoft Windows, MS DOS, even had the DOS operating system, Nintendo DS. Now, wait a minute. I don't remember the DS having anything to do with Grand Theft Auto because number
I don't
one,
either.
that's Nintendo, and I didn't think Nintendo had anything with the GTA series. I could be totally wrong from what
I
I've read.
I personally don't remember it, but if someone does remember that, then
The PlayStation 3, Xbox 360, PlayStation 4, Xbox One, Microsoft Windows 5, and Xbox Series for this one, for the GTA 5, but it does makes no mention of licensing it out for Nintendo. But that's funny because the original Grand Theft Auto, I guess it was, whoever wanted it got it. The first release Grand Theft Auto was in 1997. Think about that one. First release of GTA. That's crazy.
I don't want to think about that because
Since
that
it's
I was about 3 years old when that came out.
since the release, now here's an interesting article. Since the release in 1997, the series has consisted of 7 standalone titles, 4 expansion packs. The third main title, Grand Theft Auto 3, which was released 20 years ago, is considered a landmark game as it brought three-dimensional settings and more immersive experiences for the public, the connoisseur. So basically, the subsequent titles from that point on have followed and built upon the concept established in GTA 3. So in other words, they used the model of that and said, okay, let's continue building up from that as a 3D models and stuff like that. I can't believe that. That's crazy. 20 years ago, GTA 3. GTA 3 20 years ago in 2001. Oh my god! So you figure 2001, and it took them. Let's see, 2001, 2013 was GTA 5, so there's a big jump, 12-year gap between those two. So what the hell happened to GTA 4? Oh my, that's absolutely crazy. But one controversial thing too, I'll mention this, Fufu, is there's a lot of controversy on the game because it does have a lot of depictions of drugs, violence, but also the controversies related to the depiction of violence and to the women in particular. Because you think about it, there's
Hmm.
you have the women now. As you, as a woman, I don't know how you feel, or if you feel desensitized, or if you feel that it's you know downgrades you or
I mean,
belittles you guys.
it all depends on how you look at it.
Mm-hmm.
Because even in like the real world, you have things like strip clubs. You have
Exactly.
the the nice way of saying it is the streetwalkers. You have all these things that is being depicted in the game.
But they're actually no, they're real.
Exactly. It it's not like the way I look at it, I'm not doing that stuff, so it's not an issue for me because somebody else chooses to do it,
Mm-hmm.
that's their choice.
Mm.
Being portrayed in a video game, it's just that. It's a video game.
Right.
It's not I can see how it would offend some women,
Mm-hmm.
but if it offends you, then that's something that you have to either look at your own perspective of how you feel about it or, not play the game.
There is a depiction of torture as an example in one of the now this is some of the controversy that by people who have depicted torture. Okay, the word definition of torture. Trevor Phillips interrogates a man. Now this is the game story. Trevor Phillips, Ferdinand Mr. K. Kermov to extract information about the individual who is believed to have links with terrorist acts. So Trevor uses torture methods such as electrocution, removing teeth using pliers. Jesus, that would suck.
Yeah,
And
the
hitting.
storyline, I'm just going to say the storyline when it comes to Trevor, he is nuts. And some of the things I can see how some people would like be about, but again, it's a game. It's not
Right.
like the the guy that did like the voicing and the characters designed off of is actually out doing these things.
Hmm. So yeah, he pulls teeth out. And he also hits a person with a monkey wrench, which ouch.
Ow.
Some of the strippers, prostitutes, long-suffering wives, humorless girlfriends, and goofy new age feminists, and disputed his satanical, that's the word, intentions that many have accepted. So somebody was reviewing that they feel that the women are mistreated as strippers, prostitutes, and long-suffering wives. Now, speak of legal actions against the rock star, quote, hip hop artist Days Dillinger issued a cease and desist letter to rock stars and taking Two Interactive for allegedly using two of his songs without his authorization. American television personality Karen Gravino of the reality television program Mob Wives also filed a suit against Rockstar Games in February 2014 in an allegation that a character in the game is based on her likeness and story and was depicted without her consent. Rockstar had filed.
Also, Lindsay Lohan also filed a lawsuit for the allegation of the character based on the likeness of her, which I have yet to see. But
Lindsay Lohan?
yeah, Lindsay Lohan.
Wow.
But those lawsuits were later dismissed.
I'm trying to think. What? Okay.
I've never seen a character in GTA 5 that looks like Lindsay Lohan. So
L-
I'm like, what? I'm thinking to myself, what character, what part of the story, because it has to be in the story mode, because I'm pretty sure this wasn't for online.
I oof, interesting. Uh I I think that's kind of pushing it a little bit. I mean, should I feel that I should sue every cactus that's in it? You know what I mean? Like, should I sue because there's a cacti and I'm a cactus? I don't know what's going on with that one, but it's just, I'm just pushing that one a little bit. That's crazy. It's been securely the main three frequently among, like I said, it's best selling video game outside of Minecraft, of course, which is wow. Sexual violence in games is forbidden by the Australian Classification Board. Wow. Right, I agree with
This
you.
this game has, you know, it's just it's got a lot of backlash,
Hmm.
but also, you know, it's got a lot of good ratings and stuff.
Oof. You know what? Regardless, I look at a game as how what will it do with me? Will it make me happy? Will I get bored with it after 10 minutes? Will I shelf it? Will I put it play? Does it have playability? Does it have longevity? Does it have that wow moment? Like if I bring it back from the morgue or the shelf, is it going to make me excited to play? The answer to the questions is yes. I for the longest time I haven't played GTA 5 since 360 days. So that right there, with the exception of playing it very short amount of time on the Xbox One, my primaries though were on the Xbox 360. So the game, there's a lot more to it now than there was then. There's a lot more heist. I remember for a fact when like the bank heist was such a massive thing. Like, oh my god, people are doing these heists. You had Lester, but then you have it where there's the diamond heist, the casino heist, which
I
is a big
mean,
one.
the casino heist just won in 2019 the Golden Joysticks Award for
Really?
the best game expansion. And the game overall won the Game Awards in 2014 for the best remaster.
Huh.
This game has won some awards. Granted, not a lot like some of the games we had previously talked about in
Right.
past episodes, but it's won the British Academy Video Games Award for the best multiplayer
Hmm.
for online and best game design and best British game, even though I don't think this is a British game. But it's won some really good awards.
Hmm. Interesting. I mean, it looks to be a really good. I mean, if you think about it, for those people who do the storyline, I've never played storyline. There's three, of course, obviously the three main characters in the story. And their missions, they're basically, what is it? Michael Townley, Trevor Phillips, and Brad Snider? And
That
it,
was that was the intro.
right.
The three main characters throughout the story is Michael,
Hmm.
who he his name is Michael Townley, but he goes by the alias of Michael DeSanta.
Okay.
And then you have Trevor Phillips. Obviously, he's nuts. He, he's a crazed out meth head in the game. And then you have Franklin Clinton, who is a gang member working
Mhm.
for Simeon, the corrupt car salesman. In the beginning of the game, you have Franklin meet Michael through a mission, and then Michael and Trevor, they were together in the very first opening scene for the failed bank robbery.
Okay. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
So Michael and Trevor have known each other for years because this is supposed to take place 9 years after that failed bank robbery.
Mm.
Brad Snyder was the third man in that he was supposed to be the driver or something,
Mhm.
or he fits in there somewhere, but he gets shot and killed by the police during that. And then Michael's arrested, Trevor got away, and then it goes in after that mission with the story. And you
Gotcha.
start out playing as Franklin.
Okay.
And the thing that I like about the storyline
Mhm.
is Michael, Trevor, and Franklin are all based off of real people. Like their looks, they're based off of real people.
Have you ever noticed, like Trevor, the gentleman Stephen Ogg,
Hmm.
obviously he's the actor for Trevor. He does the voicing of Trevor. He
Hmm.
looks kind of like him. He has that kind of look to him. So does Sean
Yeah, and
Fratello. The
yeah, and that's what I'm saying. Like they based the characters' looks
Mhm.
off of the voice actors. So Stephen Ogg, they made Trevor look like him because they used his voice.
Right.
Franklin is based off of Sean Fontano, and it's his voice. And Michael is based off of Ned Luke, visually and voice. My favorite character in this game has always been Trevor because he's he's just a loose cannon.
Right. Oh yeah.
You never know what you're gonna expect with him, and he says some funny things
Right. Right.
and does some funny things.
What's cool about this game too, I don't know if they did it with the other ones, but I know for a fact on this one, and it's captured a lot of. If you think about it, most games today that have acting in it and stuff like that, or moving like animation looks really realistic. They use motion capture, so like when you're doing like a heist setup, you have Trevor or not Trevor, but you have Lester, and then the characters come walking in, they open the door and there he is and stuff like that. They use a lot of the recorded motion capture systems,
Mhm.
which is really cool. I think it's called mocap for short. I think that's what the word the industry uses. I could be wrong.
Which it makes it look so much better
And
because it's actual people doing these things
right.
in like a green screen suit with like little tennis balls all over them for points of reference.
I
Because
think that's neat.
I've seen some motion capture videos where it shows the person in the suit and then the person in the video game
Right.
and how they do that. And I think that's amazing because 50 years ago they wouldn't have been doing that.
No, they wouldn't have been doing it at all. I mean,
30 years ago they didn't do that.
there's a lot of games, that use it. Virtual fighter games, Star Wars, Phantom Menace, of course,
Oh yeah.
The Mummy. I'm trying to think of all the ones I could think of. It's Lord of the Rings, I think, is another one.
Hmm.
I mean, it's used by a lot of actors and actresses, and it gives that quality of the movement of real. I would love to be hooked up to him. Like, I would love to do that. That would be really fun to do. To say, hey, I'm in part of this movie, or I'm in this particular whatever.
Video game
Yeah,
or
I'm in a video game, or I'm in
Mhm.
this part, and I am, a part of this, and I'm the one who's moving around. Like I'm the main actress's or actor's body. I could
Yeah,
totally get that. That'd be super fun.
that would be fun.
I wouldn't.
That'd be great as something to know. Just try it out
Mhm.
and like it don't even have to go in a game or anything, but
Right.
just something to try out and see how, like, firsthand how it's done,
Mhm.
I think that'd be interesting.
It would be great. I would love to do something like that. Maybe in the future, who knows? You know, maybe somebody out there listening will say, "Hey, you remember that time that you were talking about this motion, the motion capture and stuff like that? Well, here's your opportunity. Opportunity's knocking. You better
Exactly.
answer it." And I'll be like, "Okay, yeah, definitely do it."
Let's do it.
It would be fun to do it, even as a commercial or
A
something.
commercial doesn't have to be anything huge like a video game or a movie or anything.
Can I
I
talk like this too when I'm doing it?
I mean, with that motion capture technology, going back to what we were talking about last hour, The Matrix,
Mhm.
that scene where he does the slow-mo bullets,
Mhm.
that was full green screen, obviously. But you know how they did that?
No.
They had a dude in a green screen and they had one of those dollies
Okay.
painted green screen green, and Keanu Reeves stood on the dolly, and when it came time to do that, the guy in the green screen leaned him back
Ah.
and put him back up.
So that's how they okay, so that's how he did the bending backwards. Okay, that makes
Uh-huh.
sense. That makes sense. I could see that. I could see it. That's
And
neat.
I thought that was so cool
It is so
because, green screens come a long way.
it has. It has. And it's just something as simple as that that does it. It's
Exactly.
something simple like that in Hollywood, but it looks amazing on film and stuff like that.
Exactly.
Alrighty, well, that's the end of the show. Wow, that went by fairly quickly.
I don't feel like we were talking for an hour,
I
but
I know the feeling. That's crazy.